workshop started. We have everyone so far except your signs are wrong too. Yeah. Don't want to have an identity crisis right out of the gate here. All right.
Some days I don't know who I am, so it's fine.
There you go. All right, let's go through our applications and make sure we know what we've got here and have everything we need. First applicant is Naughty Dog Grill. They are located between Never Enough Time and Lapeer, right here on North Broad Street. And I guess we have signs. I think we've got paint, some furniture, and some awnings, I believe.
Yes, so let's give you and I have no idea why these turned out looking this way. It's really odd, but anyway.
The building got smaller, didn't it?
The building is small, but
Not quite that thin. Yes, I guess this is channel letters.
And then if you can see this little white line right here, that's representing their perpendicular sign, their blade sign. So she's also, Miss Palmer, our illustrious member, is going to be presenting or helping present. So I think they're going to have some paint colors for us and stuff like that. So they are painting the brown here, and Holly, they're doing the shutters in that same color as well, right?
Yes, and those are Bermuda shutters.
These Bermuda shutters at the top are going to be the same color as the wood front.
And she decided to leave the lights the same as they are.
Lighting's going
So
to
we're,
stay the same.
yes.
So this is wall signs, halo lit. I think that meets our new thing.
I have a question. Sorry about the sign. Question about the sign.
Yep, go ahead.
I don't know if it's just the scale in the drawing. Will the sign, that bottom line,
This will
cross
be,
over the arch?
no. There is I don't know the technical term, we don't have any of our architecture, but I want to say that's called a soldier course above the window there.
Mm-hmm, it is.
The perpendicular bricks, you'll be above that.
Okay, thank you.
Is that painted?
No,
It looks like it's painted.
Mhm.
That'd be kind of
it
cool
would
if
be
they
really
painted it.
cool painted.
Yeah.
Well, oh, the brick?
The
sign
logo.
on the brick.
Oh.
If they did that on the blade with the boy, that'd be cool. Would that be allowed?
Yep. So then the blade sign, you can't really see it, but they do have a square white background. That's the only thing that really is kind of throwing me off. It needs a center because it's three-dimensional and so it would look weird on the backside. So it needs a centerpiece, but I don't think it should be square.
And oval, something in
Oval, round,
in a faux wood or something, because it's supposed to be a nautical theme, right?
that's a good option.
An oval faux wood.
Well, the whole reason why it is square is because it's nautical, because nautical is military, so everything is very like the military. That's where they're going.
Isn't the sign requirement for something more substantial as a background, like a wood or no? I thought there was something in there about the.
No, not about the background.
Morning, Tom.
The thing itself is supposed to be more substantial, kind
Right.
of whole thing, but that piece between
Oh, okay.
doesn't.
Yeah, so this is just a rectangular white aluminum.
It's square, not rectangular. It looks rectangular in this picture, but
Oh,
it's
it's
a true
proportion.
square.
It's actually square.
Yeah, it's a true square.
I think it says 2 by 2.
That would,
It's 2 inches thick, and then they're
well, it's
adding.
2 by 2 aluminum arm, it says.
Yep.
Yeah, and which will be black. I asked like multiple times for whatever, but anyways, I just sent Brett a picture. It's similar to what Savory Gourmet and the yoga place. They just have a simple black bracket, and that's what she wants. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. I'll bring it up on here. Move my email real quick. Oh, I got it. So there's the bracket.
But it won't have that silver thing sticking out at the top. That looks terrible. Look how faded that sign is.
Don't you like that, Ollie?
Oh, so it's hanging, okay, because that's not what it looks like in the drawing, so it's gonna,
Yeah, in the
drawing looks like it's just got two standoffs.
had two stands
Yes.
on the side of the sign.
And I told her, yeah, I told her.
Okay, that looks better, that's, if it's gonna be like that, that's better, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I do think, it just seems like it does need something more than just a white square aluminum background.
Okay,
Okay, next applicant,
we got tables, chairs,
oh no, sorry, tables and chairs, right?
shutter,
Chairs,
that's that.
shutters, that's it, okay. All right, and then we're going to Chuck E. Cheese as our next applicant. And I went back and found they were last year, January 2020. So 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I remember that. Same for that one.
I do too.
Yeah, and if you know, the colors, their color palette is exactly the same.
yeah. So they're doing some exterior modifications on there and signage. Both the general contractor and the sign guy are here, so when that case comes up, they'll have a better explanation. Building architecture is staying the same as far as I know, at least the way it looks to me.
Why are we looking at this again since we
Well,
approved
they
it?
did make some changes.
They've made some
Yeah.
slight changes, and it's only good for a year if you don't start the project. So.
Is this one that I would have to recuse?
No.
That's 2 years ago, so I don't,
And
I
it's
don't really.
yeah. So the changes from last time, as near as I could tell, is they're painting the masonry base, which before they were not painting, the wainscot. They're taking off the awnings, and they're replacing with this red band instead, so there's awnings there.
It's a metal,
today.
we call it the eyebrow.
Yeah, we're actually just in workshop now.
Okay.
We're not ready to, we'll call you up later when we're
Got it.
ready for the actual application, thank you.
Apologize.
Lights, I couldn't tell if there was a change to the lights, we'll find out. It's showing it painting the cornice this time, whereas last time it didn't actually show that, but that might have just been an oversight. The front door looks like it was an anodized, just sort of a, anodized aluminum, and now it's a dark bronze, which I think actually looks better. I'm not sure about the color of the cheese pattern. I didn't see that in the last application either. All those circles, I didn't see that in so we'll have to ask about that. And
So one
that,
thing that's on here that I discussed with the architect, it doesn't look, they didn't change it before it came in, so you can, it's a code issue, but this sign is way too big.
yeah, the sign
Doesn't
is,
show it here.
and the sign is different from last time.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in the package on the sign that I saw. Other than what it's shown on the rendering here, I didn't see any other details in the package.
That's probably
Yeah.
my fault, I loaded them all together, but.
Unless I just missed. We are going to do signage?
Yeah.
Okay. So for that, we'll have elevation, probably elevation materials, building lighting, and the sign.
Yep.
Okay. All right, anything else on Chuck E. Cheese?
Anything else there? Got a lot of plans there.
So,
Everybody knows where it is, correct?
yeah, everybody know where Chuck E. Cheese is?
Yeah, we have,
Ron?
yeah.
Okay. All right, move on to the next applicant then, which is SJ Market Holdings, which is Smoke Jack. And I guess they are going into the old Pizza Hut on South Main.
On South Main Street.
Wow, I thought that was gonna just everything was gonna completely be wiped out in that spot.
It's such a substantial change, it almost looks like it. Yeah,
I think it's great.
Job of taking Pizza Hut out.
yeah.
It's awesome.
So on this one, I guess we'll have, do we do site plan on this one?
We will, we don't necessarily have to, because it's just a footprint.
They're not really changing the site, other than okay. So probably not site plan, obviously elevation of materials.
And then they're not prepared for landscape, so they're gonna bring that back.
Okay. There's probably some building lighting.
Yep.
I don't know if they're doing anything with the dumpster enclosure, but it needs something. It looks,
I'm sure they are.
yeah,
So if you notice, there's two front renderings here. They're not positive yet because they're still working through the HVAC system and the kitchen design as to what the rooftop units, if there are any, they don't want any, but if there are going to be any, then they're proposing this screening for them.
okay,
But this is what they want it to look like. They don't want any rooftops. So
okay,
it'll just be a matter of have to for them if mechanicals can't work out the way they want them to. Which happens. Most of the time we see it afterwards when I go out there and I see a big stack up, like, wait, where'd that come from? Oh, it's just the way it worked out. Well, that's not how we do it.
right.
You know, so at least these guys are prepared for it. They know that if something protrudes, it's gonna have to be screened.
So with this one, we could potentially, if we like it, approve both elevations, and then they could do one if, either one, right, depending on what they
I
need.
think that would be the way to go.
Okay. And do you know, I think there's a couple of small freestanding storage buildings back there. I don't know if they belong to them or belong to the adjoining
I
property.
believe that it belonged to the adjoining property, the AS,
Okay.
but I'm not positive.
Because it looked like the way they're oriented, the doors face towards the Pizza Hut building.
Yeah, I'm not positive, but we can definitely ask about that.
And that, you know, that, the dumpster enclosure needs some love and attention, right? It's brick, but it's all moldy, probably needs to be painted to match, and,
Yep.
right.
I'm not sure if that's this. I don't know what this is.
No, that's
This
good.
is their smokehouse that comes out the side.
Ooh, that's gonna smell so good over there.
Yeah, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, okay.
And I know that dumpster enclosure, I believe, is attached to the building.
I was gonna
That's-
say, is there
I-
dumpster?
It's hard, it was hard to tell. I think it might be attached to the building, yeah.
That could be the dumpster.
It's on the Roswell Street side, the back of the building, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a great improvement. I think it's gonna help drive development down South Main Street.
Yep. Okay, any other questions on Smoke Jack?
Nope.
All right, then that takes us to 217 South Main, which is going to be just a stone's throw from where Smoke Jack's going, across from the Maxwell. Right?
So this is across from the Maxwell, for those of you that remember, right about the time we did the Maxwell, they did a 4-story office building and another detached little building in that property where the DUI lady, the
Remember that.
Rogers florist and stuff is. They were gonna do that building there. They've since, back to council, got that rezoned, and they're gonna do, I think it's either for some reason 15 or 17 is condo units is coming to mind. They're gonna be all this style right here. There is a nice, this thing is wacky. So it didn't load my rendering. Let me go get it though, because it's really nice. So bear with me one second here.
These are condos or townhouses?
Condos.
Oh, I thought they were
Well,
townhouses.
it
I
says
thought they were
town, yeah,
townhouses.
it says townhouses and some detached, that look like townhouses, you know, those kind of detached so it looks like there's some attached and some detached, but they're all sort of that townhome style.
I think they're really pretty. I'm too poor to live there.
Oh, no, townhouse.
Okay, I don't have it.
What is it you're trying to load?
I'll try to find it for you before the meeting.
You're looking for like this?
Yes, can you pass that around?
I love the colors. Already saw it. Yeah. I love these colors.
This is, Kim, there's a
Well, that's
rendering.
pretty.
Very,
So
very
they're,
nice development.
they're condos or,
There's gonna be both, there'll be condo and, semi-detached. Be a little bit of each.
Brick looks like.
Painted brick.
Painted very closely, yes.
No, finally.
yeah, white.
So very, very nice for downtown.
There.
And I hear some are already spoken for.
I'm sure.
Here yet, so. As our, a couple of real estate agents can probably confirm, it's probably true. It's a hot, pretty hot market in downtown. Okay,
Yeah, so we also have these architectural standards. We're approving this along with, because this is basically saying, these are the standards they're gonna follow. These are sample elevations, and they're just gonna repeat this
yeah,
throughout
it's
the.
basically what we're gonna look at, the same thing kind of we're gonna look at next month with, I just met yesterday with the, Rockville guys that are doing Morrison Park.
Right,
You know, they had a condition to develop that package. So that package basically just takes their drawings, the feelings, the materials and all that stuff, and puts it together in a neat little thing, basically for staff. And then where it really helps is when a project like that would get sold. This one would be, this project 217, I mean, that's gonna be individual owners, so it'll be like to their HOA. But in a commercial project, when it gets sold, then that gives the opportunity for the city to tell the new owner, here's your guidelines. If you want to change them, that's your opportunity, but you have to go back to the council and design review board to get that changed.
right.
You know, so it's a good guiding document, and it helps us so that, you know, a center just doesn't come in and decide, oh, well, we want to be white, so we're just gonna go ahead and paint white,
God.
Right.
you know? And then we have to fight that battle.
All right.
Okay,
Okay. That will takes us to, I think, our last application, the Bailey. So let's take
so
a
is
look.
everybody familiar with where the Bailey is? You heard of the Bailey yet? So the Bailey is a project that is going across North Winds from Jackson Healthcare, which is at the corner of North Winds and Kimball Bridge Road. Looks like their own Coliseum, the building in the middle. So this is going right across
You text.
the mid-street, North Winds Parkway, up against Kimball Bridge Road. It's architecture like we haven't really seen in Alpharetta. They're in none of the overlays. So there's not a, you know, the North Point we can't apply, there's not downtown. So, there is an old North Winds, but it wasn't what we're used, the standards in it weren't what we're really used to seeing. So it's not really worth even bringing up. But North Winds does have some different looking buildings. They've got the buildings that have more glass, things like that in them. Similar to, you know, we've got the pretty much all glass building, the 10,000 building at Avalon. There's some masonry parts to it, but it's more glass than it is masonry. This building, at least by the renderings, the glass color is going to be different. It's going to be a little more modern glass color, things like that, so a little more modern contemporary architecture. City council, it went, gosh, I want to say it took them, because they changed plans a few different times. I want to say over about 3 years, they were at different points through city council. The last time it went, everybody was on board. It got unanimous decisions. They saw this architecture and liked it. So it's a very high-end hotel, medical rehab facility for sports athletes.
And we did, I mean, is there, I know they told you that they won't do advertising in that art display. I mean, is there anything we can put in, or no? Did you?
I think we want to see through their stuff exactly where that is, because on these 2D elevations, it's pretty hard to tell where that screen is. I've had multiple conversations with them about the screen. They know that it can't
Okay.
So we'll just need to confirm kind of where it's at.
Yeah.
And so I want to say that it is, and I'll look for a little confirmation out here, it's right back in this area.
Oh, he can't see it. He can't see it. It's not up on the screen.
Right here.
Is that better?
I think it's up over here, hold on.
There you go.
There we go. Now it's on the big screen.
It's not on that
Right
one.
in this area right
Yeah,
here?
so you see that
Wonder
kind
why
of
it's on that one.
greenish bluish striped area.
Right here?
Sort of tucked in beneath the screen wall, that's it, yeah. And it's sort of wraps back behind the,
Okay, so we'll get some better images of it, but that's what they're showing as.
Is that Kimball Bridge
this
supposed to be?
park wall.
Is that Kimball Bridge?
This would be Northwood, it's
Oh, okay.
to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and this page, for the board, this page is kind of your material board.
Yeah, so what I asked them for is since they're different materials than what or used in different ways than what we've normally seen, I said, bring your materials, but then show us some photos of that material actually used on a structure. And so that's what they've done. They kind of make a photo collage of the materials. Just because, you can look at a material and, if they showed you this, and I'm not sure what this is, but let's just say it's a bent aluminum. They show you a piece of aluminum that's a color, you like it, then we see this, it's like, okay, wait a minute, we didn't see that.
Right, right.
So they did a great job, I think, putting this package together. Here's orientation. And, yeah, Ms. Palmer, that's right here was that entrance, so that is northwest. So right across here is Jackson Healthcare. Hotel sits on this side. I want to say it's 14 stories. It's on the lowest end of the property. Still 13 stories plus one. So that's the structure.
Okay.
Then they'll just go through site plan, and then we're gonna dive into the elevations. This really is one big building. It's all connected, so it's gonna be take some time and some thinking for you guys to go. They're in no way looking for a wholesale approval today. But if you see enough to approve some stuff, maybe materials, then we'll go for that. But they are looking for really good comments to come out if we're gonna do a cursory.
Right.
Okay.
So all the legends on here tie back to that first page, right? So if you see CW, that's curtain wall, and on the first page it had curtain wall. But the question is, are all the curtain walls the same? Are there different curtain walls? What do they look like, right? But interesting looking buildings, for sure. And this will have site plan and probably elevation materials today, unless,
Today, probably just site plan, elevation materials.
yeah, okay.
I don't think they're ready for landscape yet. They're not ready for their design book. I can't remember exactly their conditions right now, whether they need that or not, but yeah, since it's all basically one big.
Okay. And there were no council conditions, specific council conditions on this we need to know about?
I don't think any that weren't already addressed, but I'll
Okay.
look over them
Okay,
while you guys are looking at them.
all right. Any other questions from the board on the Bailey? No? With that, I guess we'll adjourn the workshop, take a couple-minute break. Be back here shortly after 9 with Naughty Dog.
Okay.
Good morning.
gotta say the pledge and everything.
All right, we'll let you do that. You can say the pledge. All right, we ready to? Okay, as always. It feels like it's getting, yeah.
Hey, Brett, do I have to announce that I'm recusing myself? No. And do I have to say why? Okay. Oh, good grief. Are there any Zelkovas in there? Or Laura Petalum, or? I don't have the flourishing language of the other Richard. This is a delightful way of... Frank, you're being...
Okay, let's call the February 18th, 2022 Design Review Board to order. First of all, reminder to silence your phones if you haven't already. And roll call, let's see, we are missing Mr. Kramer and Mr. Corkle today. Mr. Kramer is in Disneyland, I think, and Mr. Corkle is at a baseball tournament.
Because Minnie turns 50.
Yeah, so I hope they're having fun. And yes, that's right, wasn't he supposed to be here? Richard Owens? Richard Owens? No, he wasn't, okay.
No, he's in New Orleans.
Oh, and he's in New Orleans. So we know where everybody is, they're just not here. So we have our two alternates, Ms. Matherly and Mr. LeCain are here to fill in today, so we have a quorum. So let's, with that, let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Face the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any items from staff today?
No.
That's you guys.
Yeah. No, but we have started some meetings that were really exciting. The Taste of Alpharetta is coming back this year. If you haven't seen that yet on social media.
Awesome.
Finally, we're going to have that again. It's a week later, so it's the 12th of May this year.
And I saw them, that they're approaching GDOT about closing Highway 9 for it?
Not sure how that's going to work, but we'll see. That's
Not my problem.
That's the hope, that we can close Highway 9, because they're going to have it on both sides. Both sides.
Oh, okay.
So we want to,
It should
just
be.
out of the abundance of caution, because nobody uses the hawk signal and stuff anyway, they just cross. We really need to close it, but we don't know that if GDOT's going to let us do that or not yet, so hopefully.
They were talking about that at the city council meeting last week.
Yeah.
And the presentation was a good one, you know,
Yes.
so
We'll see.
hopefully
Right.
it'll work.
And as you can all see, Highway 9 looks
Terrible.
horrendous. North and south.
Where?
Yeah, I noticed a couple things.
Ah.
Couple of things came down, so, you know. But, yeah, so it's really gonna be interesting to see how that all goes out. But they are ahead of schedule.
So what is it
Fair.
going to be, 2.5 years rather than 3?
2030?
Yeah,
I mean,
we're coming into the rainy season, so
Yeah.
we're about to lose days pretty quickly.
I was just curious though if they thought that, you know, as they moved through the project, if perhaps they thought they would run out of orange barrels. So they just got all the orange barrels they could find and put them everywhere so that, you know, in case something happened, we would certainly have our orange barrels.
They've pre-staged them.
Safety
Yeah, they
first.
restaged them, it's just,
It'll be nice.
Yeah, yeah.
it'll be beautiful,
Have really wide sidewalks to walk up and down, so it's gonna be nice.
and walls and.
Painful in the meantime, but,
And all kinds of-
Hey, Kimball Bridge is turning out great.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's beautiful, like, that was a nightmare,
Yeah.
and so.
yeah, yeah.
There's
they-
Park the road under the, looks like a landing strip,
The
where all the
church.
husbands try to land. You know, it turned out really nice as
Yeah.
well, so we'll get
It's
there.
lit
Good.
up like daylight.
All right, do we have any items from board members today? No, okay. So that brings us to approval of the DRB meeting minutes from January 21st, 2022. Everybody have a chance to take a look at those? I thought they looked really good. I couldn't find anything, and usually I can find something.
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So,
Nice job.
I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from January 21st. Need a motion?
We have a
Oh,
second?
second, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Rocco, a second by Ms. Palmer. Any discussion on the motion? Not all in favor, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 6, 6, 0, motion passes. Okay. All right, so that brings us to our first applicant. Naughty Dog Grill is our applicant here.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself from this,
Okay.
and I'm going to go down there and
Very
help.
good. Ms.
Ms.
Palmer
Doyle
is
present
recusing
that.
herself. She is going to be a co-presenter on the application.
Can I take this with me?
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Doyle.
Michelle, it looks like you've got some printouts with you.
I
so
do.
That screen, that white machine over there
Yep.
should work.
Is it this way or?
It's facing you, so it's regular, yeah, just like that. Are you guys seeing that
It's not up here.
display?
No, it's not there either.
Source not connected.
Is it on?
There's no light on.
Says source not connected.
You might have to hold it
There we go.
there,
It's
but
coming up.
something's happening.
All right, when you're ready,
Get this out.
when you're ready, just go ahead and start up. As soon as we got our technology working.
The power button is blinking, does that, what does that mean?
Maybe hold it. Oh, no, there it goes. It's flickering.
What was the old thing? DOS. It's like DOS version.
Okay, I'm Hallie Palmer.
And I'm Michelle Doyle, the owner of Naughty Dog. And Never Enough Time.
It's there.
Yeah, there we go.
There is a Zoom out.
It's very,
Is this the first Naughty Dog or
It's the first one.
from Alpharetta?
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Anyways, okay, I'll just move it up and down.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to help Michelle present this. Is there, can you pull or actually go, yeah.
If you turn that screen over there, I'll let you guys see.
Oh.
Right hand.
Okay. On the screen, you see the former Shade slash,
Back alley slash Cantina Loca.
yes. Now it's Naughty Dog. Everything's staying the same on the front. The brick is not being painted or anything like that. The light fixtures are staying the same. The doors that you see that are kind of a weird brown color are being painted.
Salty Dog.
It's called Salty Dog. It's a Sherwin-Williams color, 9177.
okay.
And the shutters will also be that color. But it's hard to see in this picture, but those are going to be Bermuda shutters. And then, yeah, just do that.
Down here with the shutters.
Okay. Okay, so there's the shutters. I keep wanting to,
I
I
know.
can't touch this. Yeah, I can.
Zoom out. There.
Yeah, there we are. Okay, so they're Bermuda shutters, or basic Bermuda shutters. The purpose of those is it gets really hot. The sun comes in right there, and it just gets really hot. She has the same problem at never enough time, so we have shades that come down that stay down to keep it cool.
I also thought the color, like being up there on the top windows and on the doors and the trim around the windows would kind of coordinate the building a little better too.
And they're permanently fixed on that angle.
They are.
Don't close.
No.
Did they louver open and
No.
close? No, so it's all fixed.
Okay, so there's the signage. It's Naughty Dog Girl. You want to explain why you have your wings,
Yeah, so,
your epaulets?
well, this is a take on the Top Gun logo. So, my husband was in the Navy and the Marine Corps, and he did fly fighter planes, and so it's just kind of ties in with our family.
Her husband needs something to do. He's retiring soon from Delta. So that's that. That's the table.
Is there color samples for the sign?
You said I didn't need all the color samples.
No,
of it?
you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
there's
They're all Sherwin-Williams
they're
colors.
red, blue, and white. I mean,
Yeah.
That yeah. I mean, they're
I do have some of the samples, but
no, you didn't.
okay.
They always just ask that.
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna send this around.
Yeah.
Are the wings a different color than Salty Dog, the wings and the logo, or are they the same?
No, so that blue part is the same paint as the door, as the trim around the windows and the shutters.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Yeah,
Show this part here.
Yeah.
correct, yeah. And the red is called Showstopper. It's a Sherwin-Williams color called Showstopper.
Have you considered having that painted onto the building?
Well, I am all about painting, but that brick is very bumpy. It's not flat brick. And there are a lot of holes in the brick from 3 different signs, and the first one being installed, I think, 3 times. There's a lot of holes in the brick, which I'm planning on plugging up the ones that you might still see. And I have somebody who thinks they can color to match the brick color so that it doesn't stand out.
Okay.
And it's kind of bumpy. I'm just not sure how it would look. Also, being able to light it and people can see it from a distance when they're in Highway 9 on traffic, stop there, or they're on the green space is pretty important to me, that they can actually see it.
Are the letters internally lit, or are they going to be rear lit?
They're halo lit. And
It still have lighting shining up on it. I think paint would be super cool, and even though the brick's bumpy, I think it could almost make it look a little bit, more old-ish looking, like downtown. I
our new
just think
buildings in
seeing that-
downtown.
Yeah,
what'd you say?
yeah, our
Our
new
new
building.
buildings in downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, but it would give it some more character.
I can try it on I'd probably get some brick that's bumpy like that and give it a little try and see what it's gonna look like.
And if you're plugging those holes, that would probably work. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think paint on bumpy brick would look bad, or?
I don't know. I'm having trouble picturing it, yeah, because I could see her concern
Well,
that if
flat
the
brick
mortar
or
lines are in.
stucco, you can paint on and you can
Yeah.
see this, but I think it might get kind of wonky because of the bump.
Well, we have been
bumps.
painted on signs on brick.
Or like, working on old beat-up buildings?
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't an old beat up building. This is brand new brick.
Correct, but if the brick is wonky,
Oh,
like
yeah.
old
Yeah.
buildings that have wonky brick, right?
You could do a thing such as Mercantile Social has that are their vinyl stickers, basically, and they heat adhere to the brick as an option. I mean, I think it's valid where you're at with the illumination, and it's pretty key. I would struggle on this particular facade as to where you would put gooseneck lighting or something like that, just because it's so narrow. You'd almost have to go between each of the windows, and that might look a little weird. I think illumination on this one would be difficult to try to illuminate that sign. I agree. I think it would be really cool to have painted sign.
Could you do something underneath between the 2 doors that
it's.
There's
course-
no
it's soldier
room.
coursing,
Yeah.
there's right below that, there's a lantern above Naughty Dog, in between those
Yeah.
two windows, that's her blade sign.
I would
And
encourage you to
it's also
think
recessed.
maybe on the back, in the
So-
patio.
To do what?
Maybe think about that on the patio or something.
Oh, yeah.
I think the other issue with painting red, the sun would fade that quickly.
It would, you'd
Sun
have to touch
fades
it up.
red
Yeah.
really bad.
I think this building always struggled in the rear.
I fixed some of that.
You did, and you did a good job at it.
Thank you.
So enhancing it even more might just really make that lively back there.
It would be really cool.
And maybe you compete with your across the alley neighbor there with his murals.
Mural,
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of them's
But
coming.
anyway,
Yeah, and it is a recessed building, so it's a little difficult to see. So, and then I believe, there's some trees there on
There
either
are.
side that in the springtime, I mean, it makes it difficult to see. That's the other issues. Yeah.
There is brick on the back part that, to the left side of the patio door, there's a big piece of brick, probably a good 7 feet. I could paint it there.
Or you can,
I love your logo.
or you
Thank
can
you.
even do it on your wood wall
Oh, yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah.
So there's, these are her outdoor tables, pretty basic. And there's the base. She will have, maybe some umbrellas, but they will be the same color blue. That's not in here because they're not in here. So there's the chair, there's the shutter. What do we miss?
Blade sign.
Oh, and then the blade sign.
the blade sign was,
I think it's up top.
Do you want me to, I mean, do you need to use this since she has multiple copies and I just gave it to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the package, it was right after the building sign.
Yeah.
But it didn't see it.
there we
All
go.
right, so there's the blade sign, and it looks a little weird, as you can see from here, it's a true square, it's not a rectangle, with a white background. Looks just like this, the dude, I call him the dude.
And then the applicant emailed in this morning the bracket.
She wants to do something similar to the yoga studio. She's not gonna have a random silver screw sticking out the
No.
top. It'll look better,
Just a simple bracket.
yeah, just a simple.
No
bracket.
scrolls or,
Yep.
yeah,
I think that goes with the design pretty well. You want it to be,
clean. Or-
yeah. From staff, from our meetings with staff, the only thing that we felt needed a little change was the shape of the background.
Okay,
The square just didn't, I don't know, it just doesn't read really well. So I don't know if you can, maybe the board would consider just giving that option between you and I to kind of look at some different shapes of that.
absolutely.
I think an oval on end would work.
I'm okay
I
with
think
that.
a round would probably work. The square just, I don't know, it's a cool logo, and I like that we got it to be layered and stuff like that, and I think that all went away with that square middle.
Yeah, I got it. I think an oval would be nice
That would also, look nice with you got oval windows.
with the windows, yeah.
The arches on
Windows
the
are very
square.
square.
And maybe it's not a true oval, maybe it's just represents the window with, square bottom,
Oh, that would
rounded top.
Oh, yeah,
like it's
oh,
flat on
right,
the bottom and
like this.
rounded on the top.
Yeah, just like
Out
that.
that window.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
If the board's okay with it, we can play with that and get some different shapes and
Sure, I'll get you
see
some
what,
different drawings.
yeah, what everybody kind of likes, so.
Okay.
Yeah, fine with it. Any other questions from the board? Okay, so we have the paint color for the doors and the shutters themselves, the building sign and the blade sign. And I think the only real change we discussed was the background to the blade sign and leaving that perhaps to staff to work with the applicant on
The shape.
on the shape, right, the shape and color and whatever. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're, is this where we ask for community, if there's any public comment?
Good job.
All right, no public comment. I think we're ready for a motion.
So I move on DRB 220005, Naughty Dog Grill, that we approve the design for the shutters, the paint color, the logo with condition of consideration of the shape of the sign,
And the building sign.
and the building sign itself.
Okay, and the motion?
End of motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. We have a motion by Ms. Rhodes, a second by Ms. Rocco. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing no further discussion. All in favor, please raise your hand. 5. Motion passes 5-0.
We do have furniture in our presentation and the bracket.
Yep, got it all.
Is that good? Is that
Yep.
okay?
Let's add furniture. You intended the furniture to be in the motion.
I did.
I just want to clarify.
Thank you for that.
So much. When will hot dogs be available? A few weeks.
Really, that soon?
By the way,
Like a chili cheese place.
Yes, that's next, with a little mustard too.
Yes.
All right, our next applicant is Chuck E. Cheese. If you're here, come on down and you would introduce yourself when you're ready and take us through your package.
There's, if you're gonna sit over there, there's a button on that microphone to turn it on.
There we go.
There you go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
My name is Carlos Alvarado. I'm with CEC Entertainment. I'm representing Chuck E. Cheese. Can we get this on the screen?
Are you on the,
I'm on one of them.
hang on one second.
HDMI.
Do you, it should be working, so you may have to do your display out on your computer.
Display out.
Like function F8, usually. Should come up there when it's on, so usually.
Oh, okay. Duplicate. Maybe this one.
And it's not. Okay, it's not gonna work, so.
I
you
have
got
the,
your thumb drive?
yes, I did.
One day, I promise, we'll have all these technical issues fixed.
I don't know how to get that. Why does it make sound when you have it off?
Awesome.
You guys seeing something
Yes.
Yes, we are.
besides that logo?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so we are looking into remodeling the exterior of this Chuck E. Cheese located at 925 North Point Drive, which is about 2 miles south of City Hall. Next page. From here, you can see that it sight lines into the property. I'm mainly from North Point Drive. Next. So here's what we have is the existing south elevation. Here's the east elevation. One more, again. The back of the building. north, and then north and west elevation. Okay, so next. So the premise of our remodels is our 2.0 prototype, which uses brand new colors, new signage, materials. You can go to the next page. So let me pass this along.
You can start right here.
So our building will be mainly painted. It will have a new signage and one signature element which we call the eyebrow. But starting from bottom going to the top, we will be using the PT09, which is the base color. That would be the Cabot Trail color. And the main background color is that lighter Balboa Mist. Going a little bit more to the top, the striping, tan striping that you'll see in the next slide is the Etruscan. And then at the towers, at the top of the towers, at the parapet cornice, you'll see the Iron Mountain, which is that darker gray color. And then, of course, the green striping, which would be a combination of three colors. You see the sycamore tree, shades of spring, and the Huntington green. Also included will be that eyebrow, which is $1 million red color.
Fixes there, okay.
And so here are a few examples of Chuck E. Cheese remodels that we've done. In this one, you can see the eyebrow, which is an aluminum structure. It's mainly, it has lighting, LED lighting. It doesn't provide shade. It's mainly a decorative element. Next. Here's another Chuck E. Cheese that's been remodeled at Green Bay, Wisconsin. Sure.
So this pattern is just painted,
That is correct.
extra layers?
Everything that you see here it's all painted.
What color are the cheese wheels?
That would be that lighter color, the
lightest colors?
PTO2,
Balboa.
the PTO2 and the PTO6,
Okay.
which is the Balboa Mist and the Etruscan.
Okay,
And the same goes with the green. If you go to the next slide, there you'll see the painting going around the corner, which is a little bit more prominent.
and the
So
the bricks
those-
not being painted?
Excuse me?
The brick columns are staying the same?
Yeah, they are staying the same.
Okay. And you're removing the awnings that are
Yes,
there now?
correct. We are removing the awnings and replacing them with that eyebrow. Now, as far as signage goes, if you go back to page 9.
I have one,
Yes, go ahead.
quick one here. This material down here,
The split face CMU.
split face, you are painting that, or is that, the colors represent that?
According to the architectural drawings, it's being painted, but if the city wants us to keep it as is, we can do that too.
Yeah, it was,
That's stone, right?
It's split face CMU, those concrete blocks.
Retaining wall material kind of
Yeah.
feel, it's not a stack stone or anything like that, so.
So rendering
But if you look at the back,
There you can kind of see.
you can see the cement block.
I mean, it kind of looks like stone.
Looks like a retaining wall material to me.
Painted.
I wouldn't paint it either.
To me, it's kind of six one half does the other. I think it creates a problem maintenance-wise because it's not a nice surface. There's a lot of holes, things like that if you do paint it. But if you don't, I would encourage the board to make sure that it all gets pressure washed, maybe along with the brick so that, the whole thing gets a good fresh look. Maybe they were planning on doing that anyway, but, be a good thing, but.
I think the location of the brick though would cause a real problem as far, if it was painted, only because you're gonna have the water splash up on, I mean, I have properties where that happens, and it's the low part of the monument areas that get the black mold and all that, so you do have to have a pressure wash. Whereas the brick, just having it pressure washed would be easier than having to maintain the paint as well.
I mean, when you guys were here last in 2020, I think you were not painting the base at that point.
Was that with Chuck E. Cheese? So I'm not sure what.
Yeah, it was, in fact, the application was very similar,
Okay.
except you weren't painting.
Yeah, we don't need to paint it if that's the case.
Yeah, I think if it was just power washed, it would.
Yeah, I agree.
Make it nice and clean. Yes, definitely.
And there's no shots in here for dumpster enclosure? You know what you're doing with that?
Let me see.
At least that I saw.
It's being painted PTO7
All the way around.
all the way around.
Okay.
Now, as far as
Iron
the signage, it's shown incorrectly here. I have Tom Tyson here with the sign company who has more accurate renderings of the signage.
Let me just ask the board before we do this, any other discussion on the paint colors?
The eyebrow above the signage, did you say that was red?
Yes,
Okay.
that is red.
Above the signage or below?
Thank you.
The very top is this one, and then below is this.
Yeah, it's this band right here is the red.
Is that correct?
For the
The-
package, this is the top eyebrow, and then this is below the sign.
Yeah, the top
The
one.
curvature
This.
of the cornice, architectural cornice, is that, yes.
The iron mark.
So
And-
above the sign is this, below the sign.
And above the windows, you have the $1 million red.
Basically in place of the
Yes.
awnings. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
So just to go back to our building frontage. So this awning's coming off,
Correct.
these awnings are coming off, and they're all going to the same size and shape red.
Correct.
And those diamond things are coming off?
The diamonds are coming off.
And your front door it's dark bronze.
Correct. That's being replaced.
What about the light fixtures? Looks like you're replacing those. Do you
Oh,
have
yes, the
what you're doing there?
sconces. I don't have any. I don't have a sample of that, but yeah, they are being replaced. But I can send you a spec.
Would it be these shown here?
Yeah, the number 2 on the elevation. Oh, here, yes, it would be
So
those
they have
right
an up
there.
and a down shine?
Yes.
It's just sort of scale is going to be key, right? I think on those, we can leave it to staff for final approval on the lights. Okay? All right, I think we're ready for the signs.
Yes, the signage. This one. How do I get out of this one here?
Yeah, Brett will,
You're going to the down, okay, I think I have it.
You might have to turn it back on.
Fun times.
There we go, there it goes, now it's warming up. Give it time.
I think we should just move back into the old city hall and do everything in paper and easels and. No, I don't want to move back into the old city hall.
Or we just hire a local tech company to come in and bring us up to 2022.
There we go.
Thought,
Just a thought.
We are the technology city of the South.
true. We have 600.
So as you can see here, the signage, it's pretty much the same. It's not oversized. Actually, the logo at the top is being shrunk a little bit.
this so we can get the whole screen. This is what it is.
Okay, Tom? All yours.
So basically, we're going with a 36 square foot logo, and then the Chuck E. Cheese letters would be internally illuminated. They would be a white LED, which we've got a representation of the illumination over here on the desk. And basically, the letters are going to be roughly 38 square feet. So we're pretty much in line with the same size as what the building currently has for the signage on the building.
Can you kind of, so that's obviously the Chuck E. Cheese letters.
Right, well, that red actually represents
That's the red
the mouse itself.
Okay, so what do all these go with?
All those colors there are the mouse logo. The only color, the white, would be for the letter faces themselves.
So that's for that.
And the green, this green is for the street sign.
Okay,
And basically, the street sign is going to be the same structure as what you currently have out there today. All we're doing is changing the face or the lens. It'll be going from the red to the green.
so this is the mouse, basically. So it looks like maybe that's the inside of the ears.
Yes, ma'am.
And then that's the forehead, and this is like the cheeks and the mouth.
Right.
That one. And then what was this?
That's the actual side of the channel letter itself.
Okay,
That's the trim for the channel
Okay.
letter.
That's the mouse.
so that's the side of the side of the letters, and that's the trim. I don't know why he gave me that.
Shows some plants maybe around the base of that sign.
Yeah, this.
There going to be some plants, some shrubs, greenery.
Basically, that is like what's currently there.
Did we discuss that? I felt like we discussed it last time about them putting some greenery at the bottom of that.
Yeah, I don't know, let me look. I don't think there's an existing picture that I have. Let me, hang on one second.
It's hard to see, but it does look like there's a bit of a distance between the base.
Oh, and this is that's the monument, and that's the letters on the Chuck E. Cheese.
Drawings dated 2019. Changed since.
I think it looks, here's the, I think it probably goes with the theme of the landscaping out there. I don't know that we should work on that one. There are other ones out there that are mid-street that I think you might be thinking about that we talked about. But I think this one with the whatever, we don't have our landscape people here today, so we're gonna call these whatever bushes.
Laura had one.
Okay,
There's all covers.
Yeah, they are.
they're, yeah,
They are Laura Pell.
they go on both sides, so I think we should probably let, yeah,
I agree. I didn't see that in the presentation.
yeah.
Perfect.
Maybe I missed it. The mouse on the building, what's the construction of that? Is that lit at all, or?
It is internally illuminated.
That's internally lit as well, okay.
It's got a acrylic face, and then the colors are actually digitally printed per the samples that I submitted.
So basically it's flat. I mean, it's completely flat. There's no three-dimensionality to that logo at all.
Well, the face is flat, but it's got a can that would be the same construction as.
Okay, so the face will
Right here.
stand out from the can. Okay, gotcha. And the can is the red, it's going to be the red. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's around the outside, but the
The returns, Tom, what color is the returns on it?
I think that's the,
Any of these? Papers?
I think it's gonna be your right hand.
Is it this one?
That's the side of the letters, he said.
Make sure that is.
very colorful.
So it's platinum.
It looks like the letters are just more narrow than.
Platinum
It
returns.
doesn't seem just
Yeah, I think you're right.
spread
That
out.
is correct.
It's not what?
Okay, any other questions on the signs, building sign or monument sign?
No.
All right, so that's all we have here, right? We have the paint colors, the elevations, the paint colors, the building sign, and the monument sign, and the building lighting. Okay, so I think on the building elevation and materials, the two notes I have is no paint on the base, but we would like it power washed. And on the light fixtures, that they will work with staff on final approval. And I think we were okay with the signs in general. So we need a motion on elevation and materials to start.
Can we don't want to loop it all together.
You
We can
okay?
do some.
Are you okay if we put all the motions together since we're, okay?
Okay.
I think I'll just want to make one real quick statement before you give that. We've not run the signage through code check yet, so I'm suspicious that it's probably not going to meet the current code in its size. So
But that's a code thing.
that's a code thing.
You'll take care of that.
We'll figure out either
Might have to scale
the
it.
whole thing shrinks. I think last time what they ended up doing was on the building, they got rid of the mouse logo so that they could keep the Chuck E. Cheese. So we'll work that out when it comes in for permitting.
Okay, all right, and any public comment on this application? Okay, hearing no public comment, we're ready for a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion regarding DRB 220004, that we approve the building color and elevations as presented today, and would like to make sure that they pressure wash the brick and the water table, and no painting to the brick or the water table, and have the applicant work with staff for approval of the lighting, and approve the signage as presented, and we'll leave it up to the code department to verify that the size is accurate and approved. End of motion.
Second.
Is that, okay, we have a motion by Ms. Rocco, a second by Mr. LaCane. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please raise your hand. That is 3, 4, 5, 6 to 0. Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Much.
Good job, Katie.
All right, our next applicant is SJ Market Holdings, which I guess is Smoke Jack. If you're here, come on up. When you're ready, if you could introduce yourself and walk us through your presentation.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Dave Flipwitz. I'm the owner of Smoke Jack Barbecue across the street. I also live at 260 Canton Street, Alpharetta, Georgia. So when we talked about this, they asked me to just kind of give you an idea of what I'm trying to do business-wise. Last couple of years with COVID, everything's changed in the restaurant business, and we find ourselves leaning heavily towards the driver, delivery, all that stuff. Most of my catering business that I used to have is gone. Those offices don't meet like they used to, and that was a big element of our business. So we jumped on board like everybody did with the DoorDash and the Ubers and all that, and as congested as downtown Alpharetta is, in 2019, we had our best year ever. We just about hit $5 million in sales.
Nice.
2020 brought me to my knees, so we're having to regroup and recalculate things. With that, we are ready to expand the catering to go business drop-off. So I looked pretty heavily in the Roswell area and Alpharetta area because I really want to stay close to home. I came across this building over a year ago. It took me a long time to research and find out who owns it, and it was sitting in default from Pizza Hut. So it's the old Pizza Hut building. Our goal is to have this kind of market feel. When I go to Texas and we do a lot of research on these really neat chef-driven barbecue places, which is exactly what we will be staying. They have all these kind of cool walk-up, fast casual counter services, which also helps with the labor pool that we can't get, servers. So this is an idea for me to pull the delivery stuff away from downtown Alpharetta because it gets so congested. When we have events in the back parking lot and I've got Uber drivers illegally parking all over the place, I can't get my deliveries when the catering does come back, which it will, God willing, and deliveries in and out, it just gets so congested down there. So our idea was to go a little bit farther away, not too far. This is a little bit scary because it might be too close, but brand off Smoke Jack. So we're going to kind of redo Smoke Jack a little bit and call it the original. We've been there since 2004, God willing, we keep on going. And then this, we're on the fence between Market or the feed store. So we're going to spin off that Jack's deal. So it could be Jack's Market, Jack's feed store. Got a couple of things we're playing with. But it'll be a place where you can come pick up, and also with our catering that we do for holidays. So July 4th, Christmas, Mother's Day, and Thanksgiving is huge. So we did over 400 catering order pickups on Thanksgiving. So I'm lining cars up, running out with turkeys and running around and getting buzzed off. So this is a way to pull all that away and then go back and drive Smoke Jack as this cool dinner house vibe with more blues music, which I've always wanted to do, and make it more of the Smoke Jack dinner house thing. Kind of add some of the smoked prime ribs, some things that are a little bit more expensive. And this is a great place for Wills Park, families, little kids, walk in, fried chicken tenders, mac and cheese, all that stuff, get a sandwich. Sit in the patio area, not a lot of sitting inside, retail, market our sauces, our rubs, and things of that nature. So that's really what it is. The picture that you see in front of you, the smokehouse part is off to the side, small dining area inside, big production kitchen, and a patio.
All right,
That's it as
sounds
far as
good.
the concept
Thank you.
goes.
We're excited to see this.
Yeah, looks awesome.
I'm excited. Anything else for me?
Not at the moment, thank you.
I don't know how to do anything.
Good overview, thank you.
So I'll take it from there. Josh Word, architect, representing Dave on this deal. Also have.
Good morning, Eric Houston, civil engineer, site design.
So if you have questions about site, Eric's your man. Talk about the exterior. I'm your guy here. Do have a couple material samples I can open up here and pass around. The best way to do that, just hand it to one side.
Yeah, just start on one side or the other.
So basically our main goal here is to, I don't know if you just want to take the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's fine.
Is to get the Pizza Hut out of Pizza Hut, right? That's our primary goal here.
I like that.
There was is there still showing the two versions of the rendering?
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to explain when we get to it is the reason for the two versions. But yeah, like I said, main goal here is to get the Pizza Hut out. And so what we're trying to do is, modernize this a little bit. Main goal would be to get rid of the gabled roof, look around the perimeter, extend the brick facade up with an actual parapet, square this off and get the hat look off the building.
Trying to get to your two renderings.
Oh, okay, sure.
The new packet only shows the one, so
Nice materials.
I'll get you there in a second here.
I guess the main element I wanted to show was in the elevations, if you needed to go back to that. And I can talk about the difference, what you see in the rendering and in the elevations. There was two versions. But yeah, so the main goal, again, to extend up the parapet.
They are there.
There you go. To remove the archways over the entry points, which is kind of the one of the hallmarks of that prototype Pizza Hut that's been emulated everywhere. We'll keep the structure of it, slim it down a little bit on the parking lot face, which is where our main entry to the building will be. We'll reshape that to get rid of the arch and extend it up a little bit to, again, create a parapet. That would be clad in a type of wood, either a faux wood like the sample that I've got there that's a composite material, or a real wood that would be solid stained of the same tone. The patio, we're looking at doing like an engineered metal patio just for the efficiency of the engineering, but cladding the metal components in wood to give it a pseudo heavy timber look, but have the efficiency of the structure of the metal. And then over the windows, using standing seam awnings that are sort of a mimic of Smokejack's current location in downtown, has the tapered awnings over the windows, and we're kind of using them as an architectural feature to almost make the windows feel like they're taller than they are. So the inside height, ceiling height inside the building is only 8 feet. So the building windows only go up slightly lower than that, about 7, 8. But we're pulling the parapet up closer to 18 feet, right? And so to keep the building proportioned, to not feel like we've got these small squinty windows and a huge wide open expanse of white brick, we use the awnings to visually make that feel taller. Right now, the plan is to just paint the brick so that we can use the brick that's on the building, expand it up, and then paint it to make it uniform. Dave has asked us to explore possibly even pulling that brick off and going back with an actual white brick. But the current plan is to paint it. And then the smoker room is basically going to be a combination of basically clad in wood and the composite material to match the pop-up at the entry.
Are the dark areas there, are those louvers?
So
It almost looks like louvers on the one
Yes,
side, but I can't,
that's,
okay.
that's to allow the airflow through the smoker.
So you're gonna have Will's Park smelling really nicely.
They'll be there every day.
Oh, yeah.
When we get all those baseball teams, all those tournaments, I really hope to push that and also keep the price point. That's what's killing us in our business. Everything's just driving through the roof. So if I can keep it so you get 20 kids in and a sandwich and a tea and a drink and not have to incur.
Maybe it'll look like a movie set or something with everybody, nose in the air, following the path up.
Through now, that new subdivision right behind.
Yeah, so the new,
I bought a house in there, so he literally walks to work every day.
yeah, so the new DeVore will line up and go right straight through, so there'll be a sidewalk there, sidewalk in front, so it'll be a nice path for folks to come out of Will's.
DRB lunch.
Sounds like a good DRB lunch, yeah.
So real quick on the architect, just to go back to the roof screen portion, which is probably the difference you see between this rendering and the other. So the existing Pizza Hut currently has a gabled roof. It's framed out of trusses. The trusses are about 8 feet tall. And then the roof screen sits on top of that. Currently, to be cost effective, we're looking at trying to keep that and use the existing screen to screen any existing RTUs. The alternate is, as I mentioned, there's only 8 feet clear height inside the space, and the owner would like more head height. It feels kind of tight and small. So we're exploring different options of way either to modify the trusses to pop them up, but at some point it might not be feasible to do that, and if that was the case, we would actually replace those with box trusses that are flat, and we wouldn't need the full 8 feet of height of those. So in that case, the 17-foot parapet that we have on the low side would actually serve as the rooftop screening. We wouldn't need that additional height that's created by the existing gable. So that's really the reason for showing is that if we have to go that route, once we figure out the engineering portion, the other alternate screen might go away. We would just have the flat roof. But the intent would still be that parapet wall fully screens any mechanical equipment up there.
Yeah. I think if you have to go with a screen, I think this is a good approach if you match it to the material of of what's over the entrance there, so it just looks like
Yeah, we thought going the darker material makes the white pop out. The white draws your eye, so you don't really see it.
I know it's a 360 degrees
That's right.
screen if you have that.
Right.
Yeah. I think the renderings look great.
Yeah,
I think
did a really good job.
I think we should maybe go to the elevations, and if you could just walk through and point the on the where it has the callouts here, and just kind of walk us through where the various materials are on the building.
Yeah, so anywhere you see the darker gray that's got sort of the wood grain to it, that would be that composite wood product that was in the sample box. Wherever you see, like on the screen wall up above and the existing walking floors off to the back, that's the
Dark paint, the dark,
Here, I'll give you a microphone. You can stand there and explain to them.
Yeah, so the pop-up is EFIS.
Yeah, he's bringing.
it's being recorded,
handheld.
so.
Thank you. Yeah, so the pop-up is existing EFIS. The walk-in coolers to the back are aluminum. They're currently painted yellow. So that would be repainted. In this
When you say the pop-up, what's the, I'm sorry?
No, the screen wall at the top.
The screen wall, okay. That's not existing, though.
That is existing.
Oh, that is existing today.
Yeah,
It's
so
just, okay.
our main path would be to look at reusing it to screen the rooftop units. If we find that we can't keep the gabled trusses to get more roof height inside or ceiling height inside the space, we'd go back with a flat roof, which would get rid of that.
So that's EFIS today.
That's EFIS today.
Okay.
So that would be repainted in this darker tone, and that's really meant to, one, it's the color that's used on the accents at Smoke Jack's existing location around the windows and the doors, and it was a color meant to emulate and tie closely into that faux wood,
There it is.
composite wood product.
Oh, that's that,
Look
okay.
at the contrast.
But you can't see the roof, you can see the rooftops from,
You can still see the rooftops. Yeah, that's with that tall of a thing there, you can still see them.
Yeah, so those units are quite old. We wouldn't most likely be able to keep them. They wouldn't be efficient, and they'd be probably oversized for what we're doing now. So anything we go back with is going to be smaller and slimmer. If heaven forbid, the units would actually be bigger than that, we would still modify the screen wall so that you wouldn't see them. It kind of eliminates the purpose of having the units stick out above the top.
Yeah. Somehow the proportions look way different than,
So,
That's
where do you think your parapet wall ends now? The main one about here?
yeah, so just over where the arches currently stop.
So you're gonna extend this wall?
you're going to take that
The
wall.
entire existing exterior wall, we're shaving off the trusses that come out to make the gable
And you're,
out the wall and extending the wall up to create a parapet.
It just didn't look the same. We were trying to figure out what was so
All right,
different.
so now I see what you're saying, that the existing ceiling there is at that 8-foot height. And so a lot of this brick we're seeing here is just a parapet.
That's
going
right.
up higher, okay.
Right, and then, so that's why we put the metal awnings over the windows to proportionally make the
Make it
windows feel taller.
Look like the ceiling is taller,
So
yeah, okay.
the awnings aren't covering any of the window. They're all completely above, but visually, we're acting like we would be covering windows.
Yeah, I got you, okay, I see.
If you end up moving that interior ceiling height up, will you be extending the windows up as well, or still remaining with the same window?
If we end up having to reframe the whole truss, with a new roof, we'd probably extend the windows because they're likely going to have to be replaced anyway. You're going to have to take the framing off that's holding up the wall to hold up the new trusses at the new height. So we would just use that opportunity to extend them up. I mean, it's really not ideal that they're so small.
Right.
From an architectural perspective,
The building was
we'd love
very
more
dark
light.
inside.
it was,
Oh,
yeah,
it was
to
terrible.
hide what you were eating.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
white paint sample to finish up is the tone that we intend to paint the brick.
Okay,
The little metal sample here is anywhere you see accents, the copings on the parapet walls, the metal accents that are also still incorporated into the outdoor patio would be just a black to keep it sort of neutral. And then the cladding on the metal components at the patio would be a stained wood cladding, which we feel ties pretty well into the color palette with the rest of these materials.
Who's the patio flooring?
It would just be probably a room finish concrete patio. Easy to clean and maintain, and not slip resistant.
And I assume your railing is black?
Yes, so
Same color.
It'd be a horizontal rail. It'd have probably a metal topping or trim at the top, grab bar, but a horizontal, not cable, metal rod.
Aluminum, yeah. Okay.
Construction, but it would be in the black.
Okay. And your front door?
So the front door would be wood with glass. It's it would be the wood painted this color, which is the color that the doors are painted at the existing location. So we're trying to mimic that a little bit. Again, just to keep consistency across the brand.
On the on your rendering here, it says stained. It says wood cladding stained, but you're intending to paint it black?
So there's a small section of wood next to the doors.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see. That's not the doors. That's actually a section of wood next to the doors. Okay.
So the existing arches. So this Pizza Hut was retrofitted at some point. It was probably like an original prototype, and then they modified it. So the archway was reframed to make the door feel like it's in the center of the arch. But there's actually a wing wall that is coming towards you, like towards the screen here. That's actually covering up part of the windows. So we're proposing to remove that, but then that makes our door back off center. So we're just architecturally using an accent of also incorporating a bit of the stained wood next to it.
So it'd be like this?
It would be the same.
Okay, same wood. Okay, got it. Now I see what. Okay.
And signage isn't part of today's application. We'll come back and talk specifically about that, but at least the intent is for it to be painted on.
Okay. And any building lighting? Looks like some sconces and string lights?
Yeah, so we have string lights under the underside of the patio to illuminate that, and then at the two doorways, the one under the patio and at the main entry, using goosenecks, decorative goosenecks to just bring a little bit of flair there.
Okay.
And then the gray striping that you see there is just painting some of the brick to create some accent across the backside of the building. So the two horizontal gray lines you see on the elevations.
So I'm sorry, question?
Well, this is the east elevation, right, with the sign? Is that facing, what road is that facing?
The top elevation is parking
Showing
lot.
the sign currently faces the parking lot.
So which part faces the main part?
That would be the patio.
That one right there.
It's
kind of sat at an
the
angle.
south elevation?
Yeah, the building sits on the side at an angle, and then the property is also kind of angled.
So you can see the top part of the brick from the road, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So this elevation right here, Katie,
Yeah.
Is the patio.
is this elevation.
If you're going from a signage perspective, there would be enough room to put.
Like paint the pig on there?
Well, what I'd like to do, and I just told them this a little bit ago, depending on where that top of remember, I don't speak architecture ease.
Right.
So where the metal hits the brick,
Yeah.
depending on the width of what we were able to do, I'd love to see, so I had an artist from Cumming make that pig. So it's trademarked, it's ours. It's an original, it's not a clip art thing. So I use that often. So what we want to do is I'd like the pig on the front, but I'd love to see this, provided it's code and legal, like a frosted out BBQ or comfort food or something on that wall that would make that feel like those old buildings that I like. It's basically when you go to Waco, Texas, and what the Gaines couple are doing in all those old buildings, and that's what I like. So we want to.
Painted, not a sign?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would
So
look
something,
cool.
again, because
We'll
we
figure
got
that
the
out.
branding and stuff figured out, we didn't come in with final signage. But part would be to have one bit of signage over the patio that identifies the new type of brand or whatever, and then having a sign piece over the door that just tells you where the entry point is.
So tell us, what are you doing with the dumpster enclosures? That's actually attached to the back of the building, or?
It's not attached, it's separate, it is in the back.
It is separate,
It's
okay.
currently brick. I guess we didn't show it in the package as rendered out, but it would be painted.
Which color, painted the dark color?
The dark color, so it hides dirt a little better, because it's gonna be a little bit of a messy area.
Okay.
Does it have metal gates on it already, do you know?
It does.
So you paint those the same and,
It's just gotta be, it's cinder block on the inside, and I think it's got stucco.
It's got a brick flat on the outside, I think. Yeah, we painted the dark color
So dumpster painted that color.
to hide the dirt a little bit better.
so for the board's information, this has been through the city architect. And we went through 2 or 3 different little tweaks to it, and he's approved this last elevation. Appreciates the change, you know, agrees the brick has to be painted. You know, if you're gonna add that much brick, especially in a horizontal line like that, there's no way to even make it look like an old building when you're adding it horizontally like that. If you're filling in a window or something like that, you know, you can take out a few extras here and there and kind of make it look older and like it was a good fill in, but not in this case. So he was on board with painting, and he's, as you folks most are, not a fan of painted brick. He would prefer to see the color you choose in the brick.
Yeah, I mean, we're the same. Paint is a maintenance issue. You know, on metal or wood, it's a little more durable. On the textured surface of a brick, it's going to be maintenance. But again, we're trying our best to work with what's there without tearing the whole thing down and starting over. So I think that's the best option in this case.
I noticed there's a couple of freestanding storage buildings back there. Are those on this site or are those on the?
There's one, and it is, it's like a aluminum shed.
Yeah.
I haven't even been able to get in it, but.
Be able to get in. Is your intention to keep that or get rid
My
of it?
intention is,
They don't look real good.
no, they don't. And if I could do a little mini wooden kind of, the storage is huge, because this concept lends itself to a ton of to-go business, and you'd be amazed at how much paper goods take up large volumes. I'm blessed in Alpharetta, I've got a giant storage bin between us and Currahee that I fill with paper goods every week. So that's the tricky part. I'd love to be able to do something very creative and nice, like rebuild a neat little wooden. Also, we don't have elements on this too, but I'm going to do my wood storage inside the wood area, but I'd like to have inside the building some wood racks, very much like Chris has it made, and kind of pull some of that to that patio area so the wood could be covered and not wet. But the storage thing out back, if there's a way to do that, take that little building away, because it is gross.
Yeah.
Find something neat, but we haven't gotten that far yet.
We'll just bring that back here when you do something. You know, I think there's probably some validity to what's there. Footprint may have to remain, or, you know, we look at something different, but we can talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. And I think I heard you had photometrics and
Yes, there are,
landscape.
Landscape photometrics and site plan.
so here's the site plan,
That's actually the existing.
existing, yep,
It's actually the existing landscaping assessment.
which is minimal, really.
The intent, obviously, is to keep the large 22-inch maple, everything
Yeah,
intact.
maybe yeah.
The intent is basically to keep all the street trees along Roswell Street on the back, and the large 22-inch maple that's in one of the landscape islands. Unfortunately, with the building kind of bumping out and us having to rework the ADA area, the one tree that's right there, it's not in good shape. That will come out, and then in the proposed condition, obviously, we're going to comply with the street tree ordinance to, obviously plant some more street trees kind of along Alpharetta Highway, or Main Street, I should say, and the other trees to kind of meet the density requirement.
Has David looked at this? Do we know?
David has not yet, but I'll get him before they're going to be doing an LDP So we'll get them to look at that prior to be sure. One question I have that just popped to my mind, is there any greenery in any of this around the patio?
There is not right now. Obviously, on the front side, you are kind of handcuffed by the 5-foot sidewalk. You would be able to kind of put a little bit of a strip in on the, I guess, the page right on that elevation to put some foundation landscaping in. To follow up with you, though, on the dumpster, the landscape architect actually is proposing to put some shrubbery around the base of the dumpster to assist with.
So this is your sidewalk connecting to the street?
Correct.
And this area?
That right there is kind of had, basically the site is remaining the same from the drive aisle to page right. So all the parking kind of remains the same. We're going to restripe it and make it look nice and neat. We did have to kind of rework that curbing, but because the handicap area in the back was not really functional nor code compliant.
So some of this is remaining?
Some of that will remain. We need to check slopes and everything else to make sure that it's ADA compliant, but we have 2 ADA spots now because we are over the 25 parking space threshold.
So this will be your 2 ADA spots?
There's 1 ADA spot there, and then the other one's on the north side of the, I guess, of the smoking room.
What I would just encourage is what we can try to get, even if it's, we call them, our code calls them detectable barriers, kind of in this area here, you know, if I mean, I can appreciate the sidewalk, and that's another requirement to connect out here. Dave, we're probably going to talk to you and the landlord about getting an easement here to make a block path, basically, between roads, you know, because there'll be another one down the road here where DeVore comes through, and this area, it's close to the intersection, but we may still want to talk to you about another path through here. Well, that'll be a future thing.
Absolutely. That little Avis manager's office, it's almost right where that second tree is, a little bit there. It is
Right on the property line, yeah. I hear rumor there's a plan for that, now that there's a plan for this building.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll lend itself to fruition. But something, if you guys can study that, something here, I think maybe that's where some of Dave's wood storage might be able to get worked in, you know, as a barrier, even if it's not the wood you use, but maybe it's a shorter, but looks like storage of wood, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, something that would fix that up just a little bit higher end.
So I did want to, so in the rendering, it shows landscaping all around the.
It does.
The smokehouse and the patio, but that's actually a sidewalk,
Yeah.
correct?
That's right.
So none of that landscaping is actually going in?
Not currently in the site plan. The renderings were done before we realized we needed a second ADA space. That was kind of a last minute change to get that sidewalk in. Like you said, we still have room from the face of the curb to the patio, at least on this side, to be able to put the sidewalk along the curb and get separation from the patio to have the landscaping like you see here. It's a little tighter on the left side of the rendering here, but we could look at either shrinking the patio a couple feet.
Do you know where you are?
We'll have landscaping on this side. We can put the foundation landscaping in around the building as well as on.
You will have ability here?
There's room there.
Okay. Do you know where you're at on your parking count as far as with the new code?
We're well above it.
Well above it. So just as a suggestion, it might, lend to only making this one spot, you know, and allowing for the sidewalk to move down, or, and maybe it's not your ADA, maybe your ADA moves to both these here or something, you know, I don't know the flow of parking lot that he wants, but we definitely would want some separation, if we can get it at all, between that sidewalk and your patio.
And then looking at it actually now, we can get that because we can reduce it by 3 feet because we have van accessible in the rear.
You have van accessible back here.
Right, so
Okay.
we don't need two van accessibles, we could have one van accessible and then
And one other.
space, so that there's your 3 feet.
Okay.
I think the other advantage of that, if you create some separation from the street for your patio, right, I think it'd give you a better feel on the patio if you did something there that, other than just a railing.
And Dave, you can't park a smoker there. I know, but. Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Does the board have any?
Any other questions on the landscaping, I guess, from anybody? Okay, let's see, and do we say we had photometrics as well?
There was a photometric
Any change to the site lighting, or?
My understanding, the poles and the bases are gonna remain, and they'll be painted with the color to match kind of the building. The fixtures are a little dated, so those will be updated with the ones that are, presented here.
I know I saw your photometric plan in that set.
I'm just saying the site lighting is not changing, it's the same.
Just the fixtures.
Oh, you're
The poles and
replacing,
bases are gonna
you replace the
remain in
fixtures
place,
though,
but
okay, so
like I said, the fixtures are a little bit.
Okay, so the lighting could change, okay.
The old yellow shoebox fixtures right now, so this is with code plant LED.
The photometric plan, and then obviously you've got the fixtures there at the next. So I believe it's 3 poles on site, 2 at the front and 1 at the rear at the site.
And I'll look at these numbers.
Okay.
When I can blow them up good.
Yep, can't tell anything from that.
Nope.
All right. All right, so we have elevation and materials. The only clarification, I really, a couple of things, either elevation, right? So with the motion, if we're comfortable with it, we would approve either the elevation with or without the screening if it's required for the rooftop units. And we said the dumpsters is going to be painted the darker color, which I think was SW 7076. I think that was the only clarifications I had on the elevation of materials. And then on landscape, do we need to say final approval by city arborist, or is that implied?
That's implied.
That's implied, okay. And then we talked about either some kind of planting or other decorative detectable barrier along the front side of the patio area, right? And photometrics will be sort of final approval, review and approval by staff.
You want to leave well, in your motion, I think we need to clarify that barrier. If you're going to leave that to staff, just clarify that in your motion as well.
For staff approval,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I think we can start with a motion on elevation and materials.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to DRB 22007, SJ Market Holdings, I make a motion that we approve the materials and colors as submitted today, and also approve the elevations, either option that they decide works for them, in the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Palmer, second by Ms. Rocco. Any further discussion on the motion? I guess we did have the clarification that the dumpster enclosure will be painted that darker color, but I think that's
Yep,
on the
that's-
record. Any other discussion? I didn't ask for public comment, but I guess I could now since we haven't voted yet. Any public comment on this application? Okay, hearing none, then all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, that's elevation of materials. Landscape?
You want to do landscape and site plan together?
Yeah, I get, that's a good point. Yeah, let's do landscape and site plan together.
Did you say that, that porch strip was working with staff?
Yes.
correct? Okay, and then also do you need to say anything about the removal of that one space or parking space?
No, because they're over on their parking, so that'll just be something they can
That'll just be-
figure out, work out, and then when they come in for their LDP, that'll, they'll look at that code compliance on that, so.
But we haven't seen what plants are putting in, so how can we put in do a landscape approval?
There's a plant
It was
list on
there,
there.
yeah.
I mean, but I can't read it, so I don't know what the plants are.
I thought they were gonna work with the arborist.
That's a tree,
That's more on the trees.
but I mean, does anybody know what the plants are that they have listed?
Yeah, there's not a lot of
I'm not gonna
planting.
I'm not gonna approve it if I don't even know what it is. I mean, we just are seeing this for the first time, so I think the plants need to be called out to us. I'm pretending to be Pat right now, so I'm gonna. He would not be happy if we didn't do that. I mean, does anybody else agree? Like,
I don't know what all these plants are. I know what,
sure you do.
I know what about half of them are.
Yeah, you do.
I think we could do that with signage, or leave it to staff for the arborist to handle.
I mean, do you think you'll be coming, like, back next month with signage? Or,
When would you need to nail down a landscape plan is more the,
I mean, obviously, we'd like to submit for LDP as soon as possible as well, so, next month, we would definitely.
so the issue's gonna be, it's been submitted, so we won't be able to include them. So you guys either need to leave it to staff or approve it.
well, I mean, these are all like basic. Can you go all the way down? Like, and then go all the way up,
That's
sorry.
their turf.
Yeah, Bermuda.
I'm comfortable with it if you
Okay.
guys are.
I just wanted to make it, nothing was called out, so it's hard, I feel like we should have like had that discussion, huh?
Have staff review.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't
know these things.
I just don't want to be the one Pat
It's
yells.
unfortunate our two landscape experts are both out on the
Yeah.
same day, so.
I think we can
Okay, that's fine.
We
I
can
just
handle
wanted to make sure everybody was okay with that.
just mention that and just use that as a staff approval in your landscape motion.
All right, so what are we doing? Landscape and what?
Site plan.
Oh, okay. DRB 22007 SJ Market Holdings, I make a motion, we approve the site plan and the landscape plan is submitted today with final staff approval on the landscape plan. Get a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Palmer, a second by Mr. McCain. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please raise your hand. There's a hand under there somewhere. All right, motion passes 6-0. And, well, it kind of left photometrics. We didn't, you want a motion on photometrics, Brett, or you?
I mean, they're just changing the box, so.
So you'll review that, okay. All right, I think that covers everything. Thank you.
Appreciate the board's time, thank you.
Give you that. You'll need to put this on your LDP page. Okay?
Take a break. I think I'm gonna have a revolt. All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Our next applicant is gonna be 217 South Main, so you could kind of come up and get set up. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Cool. Good morning.
That's just the officer at the front.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, no.
Courtyard spaces. I didn't really know the answer, but on South Main, courtyard spaces from South Main are elevated a little bit. South Main is a little lower. From the floor, they're almost flat, so not as elevated as much on the floor. So is the wall that encloses that courtyard space, or is it like a seat height inside?
Yeah, it'll come
space?
about 18 inches like that.
Okay, inside the space.
Yes. Okay. Inside, it'll go longer on the outside. Right. Or it's just a low wall.
Okay. All right, that's cool. He was bonds on it. That's just,
Have it.
yeah.
Put bonds on whatever you want.
Is that right? On the,
I mean, I don't have, what?
it doesn't sound right if we're gonna have the seat wall and then the fencing above. That doesn't feel like what you put ivy on.
Right, I wouldn't put ivy on it, but like, no, they're doing fiber.
Just took one size.
It's
No, there's ivy on the wall along there.
That's right.
You see the outline?
Rated all that, or did you drop that?
Wrought iron, same thing you just said. Yeah. It's gonna be pretty. It's gotta be.
Can you also see the lines on the wall that's at the rear end of the
Kathy doesn't.
She doesn't.
courtyard area that goes into the?
He wasn't part of it.
Yeah,
We'll work through it.
It's supposed to be on the back, it's supposed to be on the wall that separates the cube and then the trail folds.
We got away with not finishing that wall.
That's
So
right.
we said, hey, we'll put lines
Yeah,
on it instead
so
of.
there's no finish, it's gonna be.
No, I'll be great.
Right. They just didn't know that.
No, no,
They just didn't know that, and, they thought that wall was still there.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Well,
Just make sure, just.
we have a sanitary sewer running through there too. Issues with the wall and actually building.
If we don't do a wall, we should at least have to do a wall. We gotta do something that protects. I don't know.
Yeah, because it is a slope.
Some guy gets blizzard
Way more
water.
expensive than concrete.
Keep it a little bit, Eddie,
It's gonna be much more expensive. Better. To do the wall we're talking about.
Yeah, we have a sanitary sewer easement on this, our sanitary sewer leaves the property through that side. And I'm, 20 plus a little bit of feet off from the side of your building to the property line. We have a sewer and sewer easement through there. It's not a big thing.
Well, it won't be,
Not a retainer. It's not a retainer.
Just a wall.
It's a
security.
It's essentially a fence, a security fence, but it's just gonna be a wall.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
very
And that's
expensive.
cheaper than doing a wall in place?
No, it's not cheaper.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying, they're getting something better. They'll be all right.
Which also doesn't know, sounds like everybody else knows regarding Main or South Main at the board and then East Russell Street intentions.
He wants it.
No, he doesn't. He just is
So,
doing because he
let's
thinks.
make sure we tell Brunson before he starts. He didn't have the money to do it.
Don't do it. That's an easy one. You ready?
Help out with zoning commission.
We're ready to get started again. We have everybody back. It's Rocco. Just come to order. All right.
Can you start with a site plan?
Call session back in order. Our next applicant is 217 South Main. If you would introduce yourself and take us through what you have for us today.
Sure, good morning. My name is John Boniface, 26 Milton Avenue, 217 South Main LLC. We're here today, previously had approved an office building on this parcel. So just to orient you, we're the northwest quadrant of DeVore and Main Street across from Maxwell. So originally had approved an office building there. Moving through COVID, we've now rezoned the property. We've assembled two other, 180 Roswell, the dance studio, and the remnant piece between us and the DeVore extension. So rezone that to DTMU. Now have come back with a 24 unit detached single family and attached townhome plan. You'll see from the render, we took great care in understanding what that new entrance to downtown, what the aesthetic and the look and the feel as people are now entering the downtown. Knowing that we had it solved for on the northeast side, we wanted to make sure we mirrored that on the northwest side. So getting that assemblage and getting that remnant piece so we have control of kind of finishing that area out, we're very excited to be able to show that.
So for the board, it's this piece of property, so here's the Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this property here, correct?
Correct.
The board is gonna come out and go through here, so it's this property right here.
Yep. And so originally, and as that DeVore extension comes through to Roswell Street, there'll be a roundabout there. So originally, we had an entry off of Main Street into the development. Now we've closed that off, and we have the entry coming in off of Roswell Street. Much more residential, cozy feel. You'll see a couple of really neat features. The front courtyards that face Main Street and then also DeVore. So what we agreed during the rezoning process was to have a detached product fronting both Main Street and DeVore. And then in front of those, we have courtyards that the landscape strip and the street trees get incorporated. So that's why you'll see in some of these courtyards, there's actually the street tree in that. That'll be maintained by the HOA as a requirement of the rezoning process. On the back side, if you can show the site plan, one of the things we're pretty excited about. Is there not a site plan in this package? Just to the north side of our entrance on the site plan, there's an existing tree that we were able to save that creates a really nice presence as you come into the development. So beautiful. We wanted to make sure these were the premier homes in the area. So we got the premier architect in the area, David Grace, which I'm sure y'all are all familiar with the great work that he's done around here. So I will let him explain the architectural components of what he's put together.
Yeah, I don't think there was a site plan in the package, Brett.
Oh, thanks. I'm David Grace with the Classical Studio, 604 Macy Drive, Roswell, Georgia. We've done West Main, the townhomes over on West Main on Canton Street, and we're working on 1858 right now. Two projects that we're doing in or have done in downtown Alpharetta. So this is 217 South Main Street. It's located in between Roswell Street, South Main, and the new DeVore Road coming through. It's 24 homes, 11 townhomes, 13 detached homes. Can you go to the next slide? The homes are neoclassical in style, a combination of classical, Federal, Adams, Greek Revival styles of architecture. There are 3 stories with a rooftop deck. The homes are no more than 44 feet high. All homes will have a classical entrance with columns or classical detailing. You can see here, and I'll show you a few more in a minute. The homes will all have chimneys. Homes will all have those rooftop terraces. The homes fronting South Main Street and DeVore will have these courtyards out in front with a low wall and an iron fence around the top of it. But those will all be low. So the wall will be about 18 inches high, seat height, with iron rail on top. All of the homes will have the rooftop decks. There will be no glass handrails. There'll be a retaining wall. So if you're out on the rooftop deck and you're looking out towards South Main Street, the sound from the street will be blocked by the low wall at the outside edge. You'll have the long views across the street, but you won't be looking down into the street unless you went out to that front edge of the deck. All of the classical detailing, as we work through this with the town the staff and city architect, we went through all of the classical detailing to make sure that it's appropriate, that it's correct, that the detailing between the columns and the entablatures has the proper proportions and orientation so that the necking and the frieze align. You can go to the next one. These are a few more that show a smaller porch configuration. You can see on that second one from the left, how that courtyard will look on South Main. South Main's a little bit lower in the street, so the front wall of that courtyard will also act as a retaining wall to help give some separation between the public and private space along the development. If you go to the next one. So what we're proposing is that we've got 24 homes in here. We've got 5 elevations designed. We've got an architectural guidelines that we've written that was submitted as part of the package. And the architectural guidelines goes through a lot of the correct detailing that the town, the city architect is requiring. These are some of the color palettes and materials for the homes. We're going to have a base level. The first level is either going to be cast stone, limestone, or a scored hard coat stucco on a masonry veneer. Come up to a painted brick. We're going with a very pale palette. This is not a white palette. You will not see white homes, but you'll see kind of a pale gray, a pale tan palette. And I'll show you the palette in full a little bit further in here. The front doors will kind of have a pop of color to it. We've added a lot of ironwork, and there's another slide with showing some ironwork. We're going to have gas lanterns at the front entries to these homes. This is actually the side elevation. So as we get to the ends of the townhomes, the end unit will act as a front to the building. And then as you look at the detached homes, they're relatively close together. So when you get to the end of a row of these, the end of that house will also act as a front elevation. So as you're going around the development, you're not looking at sides of buildings, you're looking at front entrances of buildings. If you go to the next one. This is just showing another palette of colors, kind of that putty color, but bringing in some blues and greens for the doors. Color looks a little off here, but on the chimneys, we were going to have clay chimney pots at the top, and we found we can get the standard red chimney pots, but we've also found this French version, which is kind of more of a putty color. Go to the next one. We'll maintain a consistency with the windows, doing black windows in here to give it more of a metal look, a steel look. Here on the right bottom of this is that wall with the low iron fence on top, and that will be about 36 inches high, creating these courtyards. On Devore, they'll be on grade. On South Main, they'll be elevated from the sidewalk. If you go to the next one. And we've got samples here of the color palette and the roof material. Again, here's another one with a tan and a gray color. With the rusticated stone base and copper gutters, copper downspouts, copper collectors. Next. Here's an example of the window treatments and the ironwork that we'll be incorporating into the plan. These are 3 options for these iron window rails in front of the windows, and different head treatments. We talked about doing jack arches correctly and the lintels correctly in brick. And then you can see the detailing of one of these entrances with the iron on top. We went through some of this because our initial renderings kind of lacked that level of detail that the architect was asking for, so we produced some of these supplemental drawings to help explain explain, how we would do this architecturally correct. And here's a palette of the colors. You can see that the pale colors of the painted brick, and then the color that would come in with the doors, and then with the black windows and iron rail, and the copper lanterns and copper downspouts. It's going to be a very pleasing, kind of calming color palette. But with 24 homes and 24 homeowners coming in, our approach to this is to develop the guidelines, develop a color palette, develop an architectural vocabulary for the development, so that we're not in here 24 times in front of you guys with, 25 designs or 24 designs.
Yeah, so you're really looking for approval to the architectural standards, the colors.
Correct.
Basically, they'll look substantially similar to these, but there'll be variability from one to another.
Go back to the picture of the patio again.
Of which one? This one? So these are pictures of the courtyards. The courtyards that we're going to be doing are a little bit bigger than these, but you can see how these courtyards get activated. This is a development in Roswell, and everybody pretty much lives out on these courtyards. They bring their furniture out there. They bring their grills out there. They've got speakers out there, and it really helps activate the streetscape. And then on top of this, we've got the rooftop terrace. So there's a more private outdoor experience up there. There may be a fireplace or a TV up there, but that wouldn't be down here. So
the walls along the street on the front, they're going to be the same materials used on the building?
Yeah. So the retaining wall would be masonry, similar to the water table of the homes.
Okay.
Either rusticated hard-cut stucco on a masonry veneer, or a limestone or cast stone veneer on those walls.
So I noticed you're doing painted brick as opposed to just a brick in the color that you want. What was the thought behind
I heard your comment in the last one. Yeah. So when we first got started, we were looking at a development of townhomes in Charleston that we really liked. It had a very calm, neutral color palette, and it was painted brick. When we were looking at the painted brick, it has a little bit smoother texture than the colored brick. It does have the maintenance issues, but we're dealing with homeowners. So a painted brick, I've got painted brick on my house, and we're using mineral-based paint, and it's a much better paint than just your standard paint. So I'll be, promoting using a better than outdoor paint on our brick to give it more longevity. I don't know what the lifespan is of your typical paint on brick, but I'm going over 5 years now and haven't had any issues with the paint that I put on my house. So.
I sort of get why they're doing it, because I feel like your look is very European, like London residences, which I love. I think it's beautiful. But like the brick here, you're not going to get that same overall look if you don't paint the brick.
Yeah, I think the advantage here is they're clearly going to be an HOA.
Yeah.
That will enforce keeping this, keeping it looking nice, right?
Right.
I love the look. We don't have anything like that now.
Right, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very high end, very high end.
I love it.
Thank you.
I'll say something real quick. Jason Joseph, 26 Milton Avenue. Hi, everybody. Been back here in a while. Something that David brought up and John, and that we brought up with both staff and then ultimately when this got rezoned, this is also somewhat of a leap of faith out on this side, right? I mean, what we have right now is as you go south and as you head towards where this intersection, when we did Maxwell and we knew that DeVore Road was cutting across and jumping back to Roswell, it really created, if we all remember years ago about when it was announced, that this was the southern entrance to Alpharetta, trying to pull it from Old Milton to DeVore and creating a welcome to Alpharetta feel. Well, the reality is, and I think all of you just said it, these types of developments really don't exist in this area. Right. And so in order to pull that out, where the Maxwell now sits, where Warren and the Providence Group did such a good job with the units that they have there, and we've seen the raising of what's happened there with home prices, et cetera. So how do we pull some of what we see around here behind City Hall? What do we do, and how do we pull that out? It is somewhat of a leap of faith, and one of the things that we said during this was, by closing off Main Street, we've actually, well, we've reduced the onset of traffic because of what's going on there with that light, but it also created a softer appeal off of Roswell Street, trying to create this blend between the roundabout, where now you have the community center / Wills Park that's right there, and trying to make Roswell Street. And if you see on the site plan, they've actually, Brett, shown sort of this potential right where you see the big tree on the backside of Roswell. Just point where the tree is. Keep going up, that one. You'll notice right to the right of that, you notice how it looks almost like a dead-end street, right? So the intention of that is we've now creating this high-end residential development with the prospect of assembling land down Roswell Street to the Zaxby's. And that opportunity there is to make Roswell Street what ultimately we hope it will be, which is a residential, quote, destination that then ties into the restaurant row, we call it, back there on Roswell Street as you get closer into where we're at. So it is somewhat pioneering. These are obviously, 7-figure homes. But we do believe that by doing this, it is going to elevate everything there and encourage, because as you look at Magnolia, just to the south of us, a couple down, that was pioneering for, what Jim Jacoby did, but they did well. And now it's, how do we continue to lift? When I saw Smoke Jack going there, I think we're all excited to where you get, you're taking these existing old buildings. So the intention here was to create, I'm a huge European fan, obviously, by the Hamilton. You guys know there's like this theme going with Mayfair, but we do believe that eclectic will drive price so that then we can deliver that type of product. Because if you do anything less, it almost creates, we want it to be, wow, we just arrived in Alpharetta. What is this? I see this cool place called the Maxwell. We see these beautiful. So that was like the intention around that, and to create that rooftop component. If you go to Paris or you go to London or you go and you just know that those are the places that, you ultimately want to be. So I just give you that, where the pioneering side of it we're excited about, and we think that it's really going to activate Roswell Street as well.
Well, I think also the Door Street extension with the pedestrian access to Maxwell over here.
Absolutely. Because the Alpha Loop's running right down Divorce. So
right now, Maxwell's kind of in this little, its own oasis.
It is.
Stuck in the middle. And
it is.
Not much.
Trust me.
Yeah. I've got, got families that moved in there, and they're, obviously I keep saying, hey, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. It is. And what was interesting, what did occur is where you see along Devore, that is a remnant piece. That was a mohawk of land that you couldn't do anything with. And so when City Council and staff came back and said, we really want you to save the tree for fear of arrows in the back of removing that giant one, it made everything shift south, which meant, we're going to lose all of our homes. And it just so happened we had an opportunity to pull that third parcel in, and we think it's just dynamite. We think it's going to be, when it's finished, it'll be something for Alfred to be proud of, for sure. Cool, thanks.
Awesome, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So, Brett, the site plan, is there anything, it looks like a pretty straightforward site plan. Is there anything in particular we gotta look at there?
That one is approved.
I think site.
Elevations, materials.
Yeah. And site plan?
Site plan's been approved.
Yeah, site plan.
Site plan is approved? No, you said site plan also.
No, council.
Council did that, okay. No site plan.
Well, I think that's pretty easy.
Right, and I guess just to clarify again, on the elevation of materials and architectural guidelines, right? And basically that, as they build this out, the buildings will follow the standards and be substantially similar to what they showed us, but they're gonna vary from building to building.
No, is this, just curious, is this the view from Devore or Main Street?
Main Street, and it's just an artist interpretation. Look at the houses, not the gardens. And
I was looking at the gardens. I was like, I want to watch them those gardens.
Not doing little boxwood gardens.
It's like a maze.
Yeah, delete that slide.
Just
So I'm assuming we're not gonna have a water tower.
Yeah, that's true.
No water tower. I was so excited about that water tower. Oh, well.
So then landscape will come back at some future time.
Yeah. They're working with staff right now.
Okay.
I think they had a meeting with Showstack a couple days ago.
Okay. Let me ask if there's any public comment on this application? No? Okay. Any other discussion on elevation of material
That, but the architectural guidelines.
and the
you said
architectural
that's-
guidelines? Yes.
That's just that they have them because we haven't.
Yeah, they were in the package. Yeah.
But we haven't discussed it. Do we need to?
Quite detailed. Only if you have a comment or a question. Assume everybody read them, so if you have any comments or questions.
They're good guidelines.
They were very
Yeah,
detailed.
I wish
Yeah.
my neighborhood had that.
Yep. They're stricter than what I have in my neighborhood.
I know, mine too.
But they should be
Yes.
But they should,
down here.
all right.
Mr. Chairman, DRB 22008 Mayfair on Main, make the motion that we approve the elevations and materials as submitted today. End of motion?
Second.
I guess we have to give that to Mr. LaCane. He kind of got in there first. He's Mr. Second today, I think. So motion by Ms. Palmer, second by Mr. LaCane. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're excited about this. It's going to look great.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm like, ooh, can I paint my house these colors now?
Tomorrow. I'll just take you all as a pre-sale.
I just love all these colors. I love all these colors, all that. I think it's so pretty.
Get the-
It's very
get the
calming.
Moore Road built. Unbelievable.
You need to win the lottery. You need to win a lottery.
All right, our next and final applicant is the Bailey. Assume you're here somewhere. If you are, come on down and get set up.
Brett, we're not approving them. This is just a review.
You brought a big stick.
Okay.
Is that for intimidation or is that?
No, it's the materials.
That is a piece of material. Right?
Brandon James said that he's got that working now. The Zoom thing was just blocked. I didn't know how to undo it. So if you want to use the overhead, it is working.
Okay, I think you have the same presentation.
All right, so when you're ready, just introduce yourself and.
My name is Jay Leach. I'm with Good Vance Like Architecture. We're with Brandon Willis,
Yep.
Properties.
So, we get the mic going.
Start over.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Sorry. Ooh, is that my voice? Oh my God.
No, hey, good morning. My name is Brandon Willis. With Alux Properties, the development group on the Bailey. And we are here with the team, Jay, who, want to reintroduce yourself?
Yeah, I'll reintroduce myself a little further away from the mic this time. Jay Leach, Good Vance Like Architecture.
And also our hotel consultant, John Crow, is here as well.
Great.
Oh, and I know that Brett already mentioned, but this is sort of a cursory review. We're not necessarily looking for approvals today, but if you guys would like to approve anything,
Okay.
by all means.
Sounds good. All right, why don't you just walk us through and
Yeah, well-
there's a lot here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right. So basically, I'll start with just kind of a very brief overview of what this particular project is, just so everybody's on the same page. What we're doing here in this particular project that's located south of Avalon is just redividing healthcare, right? So this is a space that is bringing in holistic medicine to include, spa services, orthopedic surgery centers in there, hair, nails, like literally everything that's, kind of the overall you, right? Concept came from a couple of different models, one out of London called the Art Club, and another one down in Florida called the Legacy Center. And we wanted to kind of just bring that feel, elevated feel here to Georgia. This is a place where I'm born and raised, and after moving back here in 2018, this is where I wanted to put the development. There's also a huge kind of tech component to this. So what better place to put a tech-centric project than the technology city of the South? Let's see. If you can go to the next slide for me. All right, so our agenda today is, again, just kind of go over the mission of the site, orient you to the site, programming, and then Jay is going to do the design portion of it. Next slide. Here, I'm not going to read this verbatim, but again, just kind of hitting on what I already said, taking whole person wellness to the next level. All right, so briefly, we sit on the inner loop, the inner Alpha Loop, which is the 3-mile loop connecting Avalon, Parkway 400, Jackson Healthcare, Bailey, Northwind Summit, Tech 360, and downtown Alpharetta. As we zoom in a little bit closer, you'll see that we're right across the street from the Braden Housing Development to the north. Directly east is our Jackson Healthcare. Then south of that is Northwind Summit. And then the Georgia Power maintenance site, Georgia Power Center behind us, and the Bailey Johnson School, which I think is being redeveloped as well, to the north.
And the Baptist Church.
Yeah, Clear Spring Baptist
And the
Church. I
cemetery.
think they've been abandoned for the last couple of years. You know, like I said, one thing that's really big about this project is kind of what we take into consideration is just kind of our adjacency to the Alpha Loop. So as you kind of run the Alpha Loop now, we wanted to make sure that we had something that was really inviting. You know, coming between Avalon and here, you have the houses that kind of back up to the Alpha Loop, where we wanted to kind of put some retail spaces on that. So, you know, like food, coffee shops, a little bike store, really right there on the loop with some real good plaza seating to allow individuals to kind of be a hub and a stopping point or starting point for their journey. And so we, I guess the picture at the bottom, what it's kind of showing is just the fact that we are taking that existing sidewalk and kind of bringing the loop onto our property and replacing that sidewalk with some landscaping just to kind of give it more of its own little feel and have it away from the street.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty important little section there. We do have some existing mature street tree planted, but we're actually going to reintroduce some additional clear greenway walk zone in between that with some additional new landscape planting between that and the building. So overall, we have a pretty substantial setback from the curb that's really going to create a unique experience along our portion of the Alpha Loop Greenway.
Jay, let's walk through this just real quick.
Sure. Can you zoom in a little bit on that? So right now, about 2 feet off the back side of the curb, there's I want to say it's a 5-foot sidewalk.
So this is Northwoods Parkway.
Correct.
Then we have that 2-foot sort of slender landscape or grass strip. Then a 5-foot existing sidewalk with the existing mature trees that have been there for probably about 20 years at this point, I'd say, Brandon, right?
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
It's a nice boulevard.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Nice
Very
boulevard,
nice.
Right. So keeping that intact as much as possible, relocating the sidewalk and adding to it just on the other side of some street lighting, on the other side of the existing street tree planting area. It'll be a pretty luxurious 12-foot wide clear walkway there. And then to really sort of help define on either side that experiences some additional landscape, and then a little bit of an area, what we call our supplemental zone between the landscape strip and the building that's, I think, about 5 feet, typically used for like street furniture and things like that.
Again, this slide here, kind of just continuing along the Alpha Loop, we just wanted to show some of the other developments, Avalon, which everybody's familiar with, Northwind Summit, some of the things that they're doing, and Tech 360, which all sit on the Alpha Loop. And this kind of really just to orient you to kind of like the site design. So we're slightly elevated than some of the buildings that are here, but it still kind of fits within the same concept. And I just wanted to make sure we illustrate that. Next, going into the programming of the site. So our site plan is broken down. You have a 5-star luxury boutique hotel, 256,000 square foot medical wellness center, then another 50,000 square foot commercial building, retail on the first floor, which is commercial building 1, then commercial building 2, which is 27,000 square feet on the front side of the site. You know, what we kind of really wanted to focus on here is making sure that this particular building didn't overwhelm the area that it's at. So as you kind of see, the retail and office spaces that have the lower grade is on the north side of the house. So therefore, you know, the Braden community across the street is not looking at some massive tower. And it gave us kind of sense of scale. And so from the beginning of the site going all the way down to the hotel, there's about a 90-foot drop. So what we did was we took our tallest building, which is the hotel, and put it on the bottom of that space. So it's all the way to the south, which, you know, again, it's not this large tower kind of overlooking the property. And the plaza area, which sits right in the front, like I said, we're looking at that to be the kind of hub space. Most of all of the retail is sitting in that little plaza area. Like I said, a lot of fooderies that we got LOIs for that are coming in. It's a coffee shop that's going there. Just a nice little area, just kind of play and relax with some nice landscaping that is sitting in that area. Go to the next slide, please. Again, just kind of talk about some of the interior programming. Just, you know, not that we're just going to go too deep in that, but we just wanted to show it just so everybody had a clear understanding of the project. And as we get into project design, I will turn it over to Jay.
One thing I did want to sort of point out on that previous slide is you know, the fact that we are jumping through some hurdles to basically hide all the parking across the entire site. You know, we didn't want to have any of the parking exposed. We do have a little bit sort of on the back side. If you could back up to the site plan on the previous side, there's a little bit of surface parking off of Kimball Bridge that would support the retail component. But by and large, the entirety of the project is parked subgrade, or if not subgrade, it's being either wrapped around with occupiable, usable program space. So that's kind of what these slides are illustrating. You can see in the top image the parking over sort of on the right end, sort of being flanked with office space and retail adjacent on the left. The other thing that we're sort of fighting on the site itself is not only do we have a 75, 85-foot drop from one end to the other, we've also got an enormous amount of bedrock. So being able to spread our parking, our subgrade parking, in an intelligent way across the site has been a really big factor in the design and programming of these spaces.
Back to the site plan for a second. Just previous, I think there was only one previous. Yeah, this is the only site plan diagram we have in here, right? Was there a more detailed one?
There's one at the very end.
So you're going to get the more detailed site plan?
Yeah.
Okay, then we can.
Slide 28. I think it was also included in the package that we sent you guys earlier. So next slide. Now we can sort of get into the meat of the discussion today, sort of the general exterior expression, materiality, and the overall look of the project. As Brandon mentioned, you know, we're doing a lot to sort of front and pull the Alpha Loop into our project, as well as pull our project out to the Alpha Loop. We see that as a really strong amenity for the project and the overall development that is going to really make this project successful. So even from the initial conception of some of the designs that we did, it's always been about, you know, sort of creating a strong linear edge along the Alpha Loop and really enhancing that experience. We do have a couple of areas that sort of dive into the development itself. We do have this motor court directly adjacent from the curb cut at Jackson Healthcare. That sort of pulls you into the site in a central zone flanked by the hotel over here on the left-hand side, the wellness sort of central with the large, the larger athletic sort of free span gymnasium component, and then the retail and office over on the right. And as Brandon mentioned, you know, we're making strides to sort of taper the density of the development up North Winds Parkway to be respectful of what's happening over at the Braden. So the other thing I'll say about this image is, you know, definitely conscious about, we didn't want to throw some massive monolithic glass box on the site. We wanted to really do a lot to sort of break it down and apart. Given that we are so close to that Alpha Loop, there's going to be a lot of pedestrian traffic. We wanted to sort of do things from an architectural expression perspective that start to break up the mass. There's lots of different complementary materials across the board. And a lot of things that we're doing to begin to sort of detract from the massiveness of the overall development. So some of those moves are sort of paramount to what we've pulled together here. So next slide. This is a view sort of looking northbound. This is sort of the front door that you would see if you're heading north on North Winds Parkway. This is the far side, the southern edge of the hotel space. You can see we've got a couple of different materials going on here that we'll sort of get into the weeds about in a couple of slides from here. But primarily masonry base across the hotel and the wellness facility here. We're also incorporating some aluminum brise-soleil louver systems to not only shade some of the areas with glazing on the eastern edge that you can sort of see there just above the tree line, but also sort of help to articulate and break up the masonry across the base. Then the tower itself is primarily composed of curtain wall systems. We're incorporating some different beauty plates, which are generally these portions of the curtain wall system, that you can actually get deeper versions of. So you can kind of see on the deeper expanse of the glazing here in the central portion of the rendering that we have some varying depths here in these components to create a little bit of breaking apart of the facade itself, but also helping to mitigate some easterly and westerly direct solar heat gain. You'll also see here that we are incorporating they're called fiber cement panels, but they're not hardy by any stretch of the imagination. These are integral through body colored, really nice fiber cement panel systems that you can do some really interesting patterning and unique expressions with that you can kind of see on either side of the white bar. The white bar is actually curtain wall as well, with a frosted glass panel because it's not a vision system. We're actually incorporating that across what could otherwise be a pretty opaque volume. That's actually an egress stair on the back side of that white strip that runs up the middle of that elevation. Sort of looking up the street, you can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of the free span athletic facility and some of the retail and office space further up. Next slide, please. This is actually a nice sort of look, sort of looking down North Winds Parkway on the left-hand side and looking west down Kimball Bridge on the right-hand side of the rendering. You can see that we're using, this is basically the outdoor plaza space. One thing that I wanted to note about the Alpha Loop master plan was there is a sort of a keyed node here in the master plan at this intersection and at this corner, and they're calling it a gateway. And it's basically a node along the perimeter of the Alpha Loop trail that is significant in some way. There's not a whole lot of guidance as to what that actually is, but we understand it and we appreciate it. So we've decided to sort of locate our sort of public plaza at that area. So we're trying to be respectful about the previous considerations that everyone's thought through as part of that master planning process. So you can kind of see here the way that we're, again, further breaking down that facade. This portion of the development, in terms of its exterior material palette, is a lot of masonry, ground face masonry, which is the white. It actually goes from the retail levels down at the base, similar to what's going on elsewhere in the development, but all the way up to the top of the parapets, incorporating some glass and glazing, but also incorporating some aluminum Kynar finished metal louver brise-soleil systems to help mitigate that direct solar heat gain, but also, again, helping to humanize and sort of break up the overall volume of that facade. I think the next few slides are some sort of zoom-ins from a video that we had made. This is sort of a look at the interior portion of the motor court. You've got the hotel over on the left-hand side, the athletic gymnasium on the right-hand side, a lot of terraced planting areas, a lot of water. We're trying to incorporate a lot of natural elements to sort of further drive home that idea of wellness throughout the entirety of the development. Sort of in the back, so we have I'll back up a little bit. We do have that central sort of sculptural element that's sort of surrounded by a pool that's could be or may not be connected to a waterfall that's actually spilling from the pool on top of the wellness facility spa deck, right, yeah, just back there. So there's basically a two-story waterfall that happens in the backside of the motor court that spills over from the pool adjacent. Again, you can kind of see a lot of those upper level planted areas. In the next slide, I think it actually explains it or shows it a little bit better. So this is actually looking across at that waterfall from the second level above the hotel itself, just adjacent to the hotel room tower. We always look for unique opportunities to incorporate some nature, some outdoor experiences in this development wherever possible. And here there's a pretty unique sort of adjacency that came about between some of the hotel amenity spaces and the sauna and the wellness portions of the adjacent building below the pool. We found it would be a really great spot to incorporate what we call the Zen Garden, this sort of this separated upper level sort of detached garden that sort of pulls you up and away off of the ground plane into a more of a private outdoor wellness experience. We are also connecting each of these terraces. You can kind of see here in the center, just on the right-hand side of that waterfall, a bridge that connects this upper level terrace of the hotel back over to the upper level entry terrace for the wellness building. So not only is there vehicular entry areas and ports on the lowermost level, but there's also some unique experiences and sort of elevated pedestrian ways at the hotel, the wellness components at the upper levels.
So where's I've kind of lost my orientation here a bit. So the motor court is
right, yes.
Exactly. Is down below.
Correct.
We're now up at the next level.
We're hovering up on top of that
Gotcha. Okay.
area adjacent just to the hotel tower there on the left-hand side.
And the feature that you're showing in the middle, is that your, the bluish box in the middle?
That's the waterfall.
That is the waterfall,
Yes,
okay.
right, yeah. And then the bridge that sort of connects the two elevated.
So that's going from there down to the, okay.
Correct, yep.
Because I know somewhere there was a visual art display, and I wasn't sure if that's what.
It's actually, it'll start peeking its way in the next couple of renderings.
Okay.
So here it is. You can see it just on the other side of the pool. This is sort of, yeah, you got it. That sort of striated coloring is intended to represent that visual art wall. Up above, we have the sort of enclosure, this organic, dynamic sort of facade that wraps around our gymnasium. That we can talk about the materiality in just a second. So this is really just looking from that wellness pool terrace back over to the other side of it at the gymnasium adjacent. This is a look from the motor court entry up the Alpha Loop Greenway. Our renderer did not get the memo about the section that incorporated the adjacent street tree planting against the building because we hadn't exactly sort of nailed all that stuff down at the time this was done. But this does give you sort of a feel for, you know, what we intend that experience to be like. You know, it's separated from the street, it's separated from the traffic. It feels like a really nice place to be. Towards the left side of the Alpha Loop, we are showing, you know, we're fighting grade across this entire site. So in order to maintain connections to the building, but also maintain connections over to the Alpha Loop Greenway, we're incorporating a series of terraces. This obviously hasn't been sort of fully designed and vetted because we don't have landscape sort of released at this point. But the idea here is that, we would incorporate a really nice and interesting vertical change to pull people into the site, not only at the motor court level, but also at the upper levels to sort of facilitate that additional pull of people through all the interesting spots and the interesting spaces throughout the entirety of the development. And actually, the art wall you can actually see just beyond that top cherry tree there. Right.
Yeah, one of the most important features is we look at that as a spur off of the Alpha Loop. And that art wall is pretty much kind of just playing into the technology field, right? So you get into the future of NFTs and, digital art and being able to kind of showcase these local and national artists on the digital platform. That's what we kind of want to really use that wall for, as well as to display just public information, today's temperature, air quality, very unique things that are, kind of we would show that our project would kind of bring to life. I think one thing, as you look at that middle sculpture, there are some technologies we're playing with as far as outdoor air purification, right, with sensors throughout the site. So, those sensors be able to pick up in real time, certain changes in weather, give you accurate reading of, how hot or cold it is outside. Some of it can actually predict the same that the Weather Channel uses. Some can predict, if this is about to rain or not. So we can actually display that information in real time on that site and do it in a way that is artistic and beautiful and to walk through. So again, this is just playing into the theme of, Alpharetta being a technology city of the South, and it's something we wanted to really kind of execute well here. Our tech team is amazing. One is based out of New York, the other one's based out of here in Georgia. I've already put in a call for them to come take care of you guys' system here. So we could talk about that a little bit later. But no, it's an incredible team called Cactus out of New York. So if you ever get a chance to look them up, you can kind of see some of the things they're doing. And we think it's going to really fit in nicely to the overall project and kind of this sense of movement that we're trying to create here on this campus.
The orientation of the display is towards north winds?
It's towards north winds, but the majority of it's tucked behind the retail building. So you get a piece of it right here at the corner, which is meant to kind of bring you in and invite. But we wanted to keep the lumen levels pretty low, so it didn't reflect on the street. So it was just a nice little corner of it to bring you in. And then once you go back there, you're kind of in this immersive digital space that you can kind of walk through and come out on the plaza area on the other end.
Right. In terms of the lumen levels, those are things that can all be sort of dialed in, and we'll make sure that, as we get out to the property line, as we get out to the street, we're not, polluting any of that area, making sure that we're not impeding any types of visibility or anything like that.
Right. And I'm sure you've heard the concern that we wouldn't want it used for advertising as a
no, it's not
billboard, right?
Advertising is a disgusting look. I mean, we want to make sure that we stay within
with what you're going.
Yeah, no, not at all. We wouldn't do any advertising. It is really to showcase art. I mean, it's the same as, Vusa put up sculptures throughout that little kind of middle area, right? But again, this is something that can constantly be changed, constantly has like a new look and a new feel because it can be changed in real time, right? I mean, it may be one day you walk through there and it's raining outside and you get like pictures of the rainforest down in Brazil, right? Or another day where it's like nice and sunny and you're getting kind of beach feels from, down in Miami or something like that. So, I mean, like we have the ability to kind of really play with what we show on that screen to put your mind at a place where, you just kind of out in some area that is just, far-fetched that you normally don't travel to every day, right? So, I mean, one of the things is when you look at Alpharetta, it's like as great of a city and how fast we are progressing, when it comes to destination, you typically want to go to a place with water, you want to go to a place that you have like some unreal scenery, mountain areas type things like, well, that's not here in the city. That's not really in any city, that's not on the coast. So how do you create that feel and vibe of people feeling like they're at these destination spaces without having those natural geographic landmarks? And you do that through a digital presence, right? I mean, you look at the future of the digital space and how we are now using Oculus, that, the metaverse is being created, all this other stuff, right? And like, what is that median, that transform space to kind of really get you into feeling that you're at a pretty nice destination area. And we expect to have customers from all over the country with the medical platform that we have here, and we want to make sure that is a vacation for them. So yeah.
Is there audio? In September, we can get beach, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there audio with that digital artwork, or is it just the art?
No, there will be some audio throughout the site as well. So, a blend of, kind of relaxing music, natural bird sounds. I think, you got to look at the 3 pillars, right? Visual, hearing, and smell.
You're not going to put the Super Bowl up on the digital display.
Oh, God. There's no seating to watch it, but.
Yes, but it reminds me of, at the Wynn in Las Vegas where they.
Yep, absolutely.
Fantasy.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we want to create. So, like, as you walk through that corridor, hearing natural sounds, getting nice smells, it's really those are the pillars in the visual side of the house. The pillars of making you feel like you're in a space without actually being there. So.
Did you ever go to
The
the Van Gogh?
Van Gogh? I have not.
They had something similar. I mean, it's in a different sort of way, but it's a very cool. I know what he's talking about. It's very cool.
The one at Palladium Yard.
Yes.
Yep.
Really cool.
They had a room you could go in and it was like art wall.
It's just this totally immersive experience that's all projected.
Yeah, they actually created a spot here in Atlanta, Illuminarium. If anybody ever got a chance to go down there, the floors vibrate a little bit. Again, they do like these digital safaris. And like every quarter, I think they switch it up or do also for private events. But real cool space to go through. It's like a 30-minute kind of loop that you go through, and you get these different scenes. And again, I mean. You have a feeling of kind of being there, right?
Yeah, cool idea.
I think it's a good spot too with the loop wrapping around.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of the next generation of sort of entertainment venues that we're incorporating here. And here's sort of a look, sort of back through that art tunnel from the top of those terraced areas. You see the full width or the length of it as you sort of.
Oh, there's a lot more to it than I thought.
It's throughout that whole corridor.
Substantial. Yeah. Okay.
It's actually wrapping the parking structure. Just on the side of it.
That's amazing.
And now we get to talk about materials. A little show and tell here. So first up, we have our masonry veneer. We do have a pretty unique unit here. It is a ground face precast unit, and I'm not gonna.
Hold it.
No, I got some small. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to pick that up. But that's actually the module. So it's like a 3-foot module, but a really nice ground face unit that we're utilizing across the entirety of the base of the project, the hotel base, the wellness center base, and then the bulk of the retail and office space on the northern side of the site. So everything sort of gets this really unique, sort of nice off-white, very clean masonry as the baseline for the materiality.
Pattern of like a traditional brick pattern?
Yeah, it would just be a traditional like stack bond. It's not. You can do some you'd basically just want to split it across it just because of the module, and not get super crazy. Or I don't think you could do herringbone out of that or anything.
Mortar.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So that image to the right of the bottom image is sort of what it would look like with a darker mortar. I personally would prefer a lighter mortar on that, but just a found image that we've got.
Yeah, it seems like for this very contemporary look you're going for, if it was more monochrome, but I think it would probably look better.
And I think we're doing some other things that sort of help break that up and sort of help. In one sense, you kind of want to celebrate the monochromatic nature of it, that uniformity, but then we're doing a few other things that sort of help further articulate.
And if the mortar joints are a little inset, you get some shadow lines. And
Right. So that's our masonry veneer. I think we've got, so I mentioned earlier the fiber cement panel system. They call it fiber cement panels, but it's closer to stone, honestly. It's a really interesting system. There's a few of these guys out there now that are sort of creating these almost, they're through body color in each of these. They're super durable, super robust. This is not hardy panel. This is not hardy blank. This is sort of the next level up. And you basically utilize it as your standard rain screen system. But what's really unique about some of these materials is the way that you can mix tones and create interesting patterns. So you can see on the sort of opaque portion of the hotel and a little bit of the wellness building back there in the background, we're mixing a few tones. You can do rain screen systems like you see in the bottom right-hand image, where not only are you mixing the tones, but you're mixing patterns to create a really unique look. Again, I think this really helps to break up the overall look of the facade, and again, sort of bring everything back down to that human scale.
How do these get, is there a joint between them, or are they just butted right up against each other? It almost looks like there's a mortar joint in there.
No, they sit on top of a rain screen furring system. So in the instance where you do start sort of incorporating these patterns, you basically skew your rain screen furring systems to align with all that, and everything just gets tied back into it. So you have an open joint, you have all your...
so it's an open joint.
It's an open joint rain screen system, right? You have all of your weather barrier and everything backed up behind that. And in this type of an application, we'd typically we'd like to see a fluid applied weather barrier. So that's the fiber cement.
Hey Jay, just as we go through this, so like the material you just showed us before, that's wherever we see, however that was labeled, that's it.
Masonry.
And it's that color, and so there's a sort of a question of the mortar joint, and when we see, what was the last one called, FC?
FC, fiber cement.
FC01, it's one of these three colors,
right,
but potentially used in some pattern.
Exactly.
Okay.
Correct. So we're also incorporating a lot of aluminum into the project in the way of a Brise Soleil sunscreen system. This would be a standard sort of shop fabricated. We typically push these to a design assist company. We've used Lenel in the past. It always does just a phenomenal job of creating these really unique and interesting sunscreen systems. They would basically be forming a louver Brise Soleil system in panels, ship it out of the site. It gets mounted onto the building itself, but just in different sort of configurations. You'll see sort of where the AL1 that's sort of pointing over toward the hotel facade. Not only are we using this material to sort of help mitigate direct solar heat gain and lower impact on HVAC units of the building loads, but we're also sort of incorporating it in certain areas with a little bit of additional articulation to help establish a little bit of additional mass and rhythm, especially along the Alpha Loop frontage, to play a little bit with the relief of it, the openness of it, and also the shadows that it casts onto the masonry behind.
So some type of louver system out of this, okay. Panel not to be used as a color standard.
You're not supposed to read that side.
But then it gives you a color number and a color name.
Yeah, that should just be a PPG Kynar finish is what we typically see on those things. Glazing, we've got an awful lot of it on the buildings, mostly at the towers. We're using all the glazing systems. We're using curtain wall, we're using window wall, and we're using storefront. Storefront's going to be most economical and effective at the ground level retail on the northern end of the site. Window wall is basically a multi-story storefront, if you will. They incorporate an integral slab edge cover, but basically it all still rests on the structure itself. So window wall at the two-ish story, the two-story offices on the northern end of the site, and then curtain wall at the hotel and the wellness area where we're sort of building up to the 11-story datum. The glass that, I'll come back to this. I think I did mention that we're entertaining the idea of using beauty plates at multiple depths to sort of create some unique shadow lines and some unique opportunities for shading across the exterior envelope. And we'll sort of mix that in a little bit of a random pattern that you can kind of see here on the motor court side of the hotel. If you could zoom in there, you can kind of see that we're sort of creating a little bit of a randomized pattern there with some of the depths in these mullions across that exterior facade. We are also doing something similar with that frosted sort of white band that sort of encloses the egress stair on the end of the hotel. That would really just be a standard IGU insulated glazed unit, just with a frosted application inside. So that's actually going to do a couple of really cool things. Casting a shadow on glazed or translucent materials sort of creates this really soft, unique look, but also at in the evening and at night where where the outside light goes down, it creates a really unique opportunity to create a little bit of a really soft ambient backlit expression over there on the Alpha Loop frontage. And I think I've got a couple of keyed up example images there that I think if you just zoom out and then go back up a page and then down, right, so over there on the right hand side you can kind of see the expression that we're after with some of these frosted panels. For the vision panels, we're trying to strike a balance between energy efficient. The next generation coatings, low E coatings, are very, very efficient. You can actually pass energy code with an entire building of just this glass and not have to worry about incorporating opaque areas. But this is kind of the next generation of insulated glass units, trying to strike a little bit of a balance. The other thing that's nice about this sample is that it's got a nice balance of reflectivity, so you get a lot of the ambient sky coloring that gets reflected off of it, but not so much that you're creating like that mirrored effect or anything, right? So you still get, even in direct sunlight, a lot of permeability through that exterior envelope in terms of visibility. So a couple of these examples. And there's also really great spandrel samples that look really nice with that kind of just fade into the background.
That's your vision glass, basically.
Correct.
On where it's marked the curtain wall, CW02, in the rendering it doesn't look like it's glass, but
that's the frosted.
But it's glass. It's the frosted glass.
Correct. Right. That's the designation we gave for the frosted glass.
Oh, so the O2 is frosted glass.
Correct.
Okay.
The O1 is just the vision.
The O1 is the vision. Okay.
I think that's it for the glass.
Okay, so that's frosted.
Okay. ALO2, this is another aluminum panel system that, again, we would look to somebody like Linnell to fabricate for us. We have in the central portion of the project, up on top of the media wall, we have a really large, open, free-span gymnasium with 2 basketball courts. These courts are going to be used by professional athletes. We want to incorporate some natural lighting where we can, but we also want to be very conscious about glare inside those types of spaces. It's a really big concern. Most of the times, professional gymnasiums don't really incorporate a whole heck of a lot of natural light, but what we're trying to do is incorporate a system that's got a little bit of a translucency to it in the way of an architectural mesh system, which may or may not be the exact same size as what that is, but the intent there is that it would have some visual permeability there to allow indirect light in, but keep direct glare and direct sunlight out of that space. And then in terms of the articulation of the mass itself, you can kind of see that it's not a box. We wanted to let that architecture speak a little bit to what's going on the inside of the building. So it's got a lot of movement to it. It's got a lot of sort of dynamic gestures that happen across the exposed portions of the facade. And then to even further sort of express that idea, we're also incorporating the panel systems with a lot of individual movement and dynamism in the panels themselves, where there'll be obviously plenty of panels that are the same in terms of the way that they sort of stand off. This image sort of down in the lower left hand of the photo here probably tells the story best. We can basically incorporate sort of a variety of shapes and panels that can be applied across the entire exposure of that area around that gymnasium.
So other than that, it's open air and it's
Right, yeah, and it
not
would have
enclosed.
glass backup, basically.
There's glass back, so it is closed, oh, it is
Right,
closed, okay.
Just another means of sort of mitigating that direct solar glare and heat gain. Then I believe there's one more here, our visual art display. You guys have probably seen the YouTube videos, Instagram or whatever it is, that these people are sort of posting these videos of some of these interactive art displays. These are a couple of images sort of down on the bottom of the image here, just showing a myriad of different things that you could project. You know, it could be something like what's going on in the center where it becomes more of an optical illusion of something actually living inside of this 3D space, or it could be something more along the lines of what's happening on the right-hand side where it's just this really great tones and textures of colors and shapes that sort of create that artistic expression. I think we basically covered where exactly that is. So I think so everything else in here is kind of supplemental. I think you guys have already seen, or you had in the presentation package, the flat elevations. This is basically just sort of going through what we just talked about, you know, and every little nook and cranny of the building. I don't know if we necessarily want to or need to go through all of this. I think the renderings, by and large, sort of told the story. And then after this series, we do have that sort of supplemental site plan that shows a little bit of additional information above and beyond what we saw in the previous iteration. And there you have it.
So on the elevation of materials, I think you've been fairly precise on calling out everything. It just seems like the thing you're still working on is exactly what, like some of the curtain walls are going to look like. I mean, exactly how you're going to articulate the mesh screen.
Right. Yeah, a lot of that stuff I think is going to come as we get into design development. We're awfully early in the process, and we really just sort of wanted to get in front of you guys just to sort of facilitate and hopefully initiate some preliminary feedback, just so, you know, as we move into the next step in our design process, that we're all headed in an appropriate direction that you guys are comfortable with.
I think you've got most of what we would need, except to get to that next level of detail on some of these materials. And then when we got to that, we probably would want to go sort of facade by facade, especially on the main streets that we're going to be looking at. So it looks good, though. It looks really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, very unique.
Great.
Very unique for Alpharetta.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's in the right spot.
Yeah.
It's pulling it closer.
And unfortunately, I've lost my elite athlete status, so there's some of this I won't be able to use. But
Well, I mean, the beauty of it, those facilities are still available to club members, right? So, like, you know, a little bit different, like it's more executive healthcare.
Okay.
And we've incorporated some of the things that the athletes are using within the executive healthcare kind of plan. So the hydro rooms, the various saunas and spas, the biometrics areas, the biohacking areas. I mean, those are available to all club members.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's everything from testing that professional athlete to make sure that he or she continues to go and move forward in their career, and then also for the regular everyday person who just want to wake up without joint pain.
Yeah. So you'd be selling memberships, club memberships.
Yeah, club memberships, and then some of the services, like especially on the retail level, obviously all those open to the public.
Right.
And when you get into the wellness center, like there's certain spa passes and stuff like that
Spa
that
package,
are open
okay.
to the public as well.
Okay.
But the beauty of it is on that top floor, there's a club, a city club, that instead of think about your traditional golf and country club, get rid of the golf component and add medical services. Right? And so that is your membership. All that's included. It's your primary care, everything, all in one yearly package.
Maybe this will encourage our Falcons players to step it up. They'll have a good wellness center. Play better.
Yeah, there you go.
No more excuses.
So do we need to do is this enough, or do we need to do any sort of motion?
We should look at the site plan a little bit too before we we haven't been through the site plan in any detail. So, yeah, just kind of walk us through the site plan now a little bit. My main question was about I noticed there's a loading dock and how visible that's going to be.
Yeah, we're going to make sure that that's all sort of
Yeah.
screened from North Winds Parkway. We've already got sort of that masonry pulled out. We'll do like a double width wall that extends out to make sure that that's all sort of shielded. And we've also got that brise soleil that sort of wraps around to, further distract from what's going on over there. A lot of what's going on is, this site plan's almost super confusing, but maybe that's a good thing because we've got a lot going on. You can see the surface parking for primarily retail use over here on the right-hand side, right? With the retail and office just to the south of that, it sort of wraps and hugs and engages the plaza and that greenway node to the south side of the site. That whole bar sort of Z's around the free span parking structure just below where we have that rooftop track and turf space. Just north of that is the bulk of the medical office and wellness facility, and that sort of shares a second level elevated plaza space with the hotel, so there's a direct connection to the plaza, the elevated plaza at the hotel end as well. You see the existing mature growth street trees there fronting North Winds Parkway with the new sidewalk there just adjacent. On the opposite end of those is the new street tree plantings. We're also incorporating some additional planting off of Kimball Bridge to facilitate a little bit of a buffer between the traffic on Kimball Bridge and our development. Primary loading and all of that fun stuff happens sort of back behind the wellness area, exactly where we've got that turnaround. That'll facilitate fire truck access, loading, unloading for the MOB and the office and retail spaces, and then we're capturing a little bit of additional loading over there on the far left end, that's right, left-hand side of the site. And a lot of the brown areas are actually areas that are elevated terrace space on top of the buildings. So we're incorporating a substantial amount of greenery and planted areas up there. That's going to do a lot of things for us, even above and beyond enhancing that experience. It'll help anywhere we have green roof. It'll help sort of mitigate the intrusion or direct infiltration of stormwater. So it helps us sort of capture and hold that for a specific duration prior to releasing all that stuff back out into the system. And then a ground stormwater pond or cistern there on the southern end of the site as well. Everything that is hatched across this plan has parking underneath it. So everywhere, like every bit of that motor court where it's gray with that diagonal crosshatch, that's all sitting on top of that structured parking that we've incorporated underneath just about the entirety of the development. As we do have a significant parking demand for this type of a development, but we really wanted to do our best to keep that away from the public realm here.
Yeah. And there's a retaining wall, looks like runs around the whole back side of the property, that dashed red line, is that retaining wall?
I think that just might be a setback line.
I thought I saw
Might be.
when I zoomed in on the legend, on the one that was in the package, it looked like that was a retaining wall. So when you come back with, landscaping and more detail,
It'll all
just
have that.
understand, retaining walls are something we take a look at, who's gonna see them, what's the materials.
Right.
You have a screen wall across the front. All right, I think the black dash line is mostly a screen wall going up North Winds.
Oh, that's just our setback. That's the 30-foot setback off of our property line.
But there is on the legend, it did say screen wall for. So anyway, the point being, if there is a screen wall, we'd want to obviously see what that looks like, what the materials are on the screen wall. I was also thinking on the corner of Kimball Bridge and North Winds, it's like a prime corner to do something interesting.
Something that would engage the public.
Yeah, it's just
the idea of that being a gateway for the Alpha Loop and that super important node is something that we're going to bounce back and forth between the architect design team as well as the landscape designers to really come up with something that's not only an asset to our development but also a real asset to the city and community and Greenway, our Alpha Loop experience.
Right.
I think that is, it is.
Point out as the red line is number 26,
Mm-hmm.
which says site retaining walls.
Yeah, and the black line, I think, said 32, which I think said screen wall.
I think it's 33.
Or is it 33?
32 says architectural screen walls.
Oh,
Yeah.
that number right there is
That's very
33.
arch-
That's
Okay.
also pointing to 33, so
Yeah.
It's definitely not a wall.
Well, 30,
you're probably gonna get into the,
33 is the fire department connection, yeah.
probably gonna get more into, the actual drawing that are rendered
Yeah,
color sheet for, to see those kind of things.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right now, look if this is the wall.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw that in there, that,
It's back there. I mean, right
Yeah.
behind there,
So-
there's the cemetery, and there's a huge drop from behind our building to get into where that.
to get there, yeah.
There's a lot of grade to fight on this site,
Yeah.
so we'll have a few side walls probably back on the back side.
I think, just to show you, Jay, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, that white.
Oh, right. Yeah, so that's the screen wall that would effectively sort of screen visibility and view of that loading area.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
So I'm just trying to think ahead to when you come back, some of the things to think about, and of course, with the surface parking, screening from this, landscape screening from the street, those requirements, and
Right.
I don't know how close this ends up getting to the church, to the Baptist church, and
It's,
whether there's any, we want to think about any screening requirements there.
there's a pretty
No,
decent buffer.
there's a pretty big buffer there.
Is there?
We have a landscaping, like a landscaping space.
This is probably property line.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, okay, so there's sort of natural wooded area there, okay. Okay, anybody have any other questions?
Great job, guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
thank you
think
very
it's-
much.
I think other than some details that on the buildings.
Yeah.
That I think you're close.
Yeah, we're
Do we,
getting
do
there.
we want a motion for conceptual or?
I don't think we need
We don't
to.
really need a motion for conceptual, right? Yeah, but I think,
Unless you guys for some reason need something more formal.
Yeah, why not?
yeah, so I think we could do motion for conceptual approval on site plan elevation and materials.
I think so. I think it makes sense.
So, Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 220006, the Bailey, make a motion that we approve the conceptual drawings as presented today.
Second?
Was a second, Katie? Okay, so motion by Ms. Rhodes, second by Ms. Rocco. And I've neglected to ask for public comment, but I don't see much public here, so.
John, maybe.
Okay. And any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 6-0.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
And having no further business and with no objection,
Bang it.
our meeting is adjourned.
Very nice.
Great job, Frank.